Aita for not backing my husband when my stepdaughter started pulling away after he punished her. I, mid-30s, have been married to my husband, 40s, for about 4 years now. His daughter, Danny, 15, lives with us most of the time. I came into her life when she was around 9, and we've always had a good relationship. She's a great kid, smart, funny, a little dramatic sometimes, but generally kind and emotionally aware for her age. He was her safe person through a messy divorce and always made sure she knew she was loved. Their bond has always been more best buds than the typical strict parent thing. Recently, Danny got in trouble at school over some texts about another girl in her group chat with her friends. Mostly dumb teenage stuff, but a few of the things Danny said about this particular girl were pretty mean. Not slurs or threats or anything awful like that, but a couple of personal jabs since she didn't particularly like her. How it got out: one of the girls in the group chat had a falling out with the others and screenshotted everything. She sent the screenshots to the girl they'd been talking about, who brought them to a teacher. The school ended up calling a meeting with parents, including my husband. The school took it seriously but handled it well, in my opinion. Danny owned up to what she said and apologized. Like, a real apology, not a forced one. The girl actually accepted it, which I think says a lot. At home, though, things took a turn. My husband reacted very differently than I expected. He didn't yell or lose his temper. Instead, he shut down emotionally. He took her phone outside of school use, grounded her for 2 weeks, and gave her extra chores with a big lecture about how being that girl, the mean one, sticks with you, how people remember what you do, how damage can't be undone. But what stood out wasn't the consequences. It was how he did it. It was like a switch flipped. He became cold, formal. Every interaction with her was short, distant, and transactional. No softness, no patience, no sense of connection. It was almost like he couldn't bring himself to look at her the same way. And now, 2 weeks later, that's exactly how she treats him. Polite, obedient, but emotionally closed off. She answers questions, follows rules, says thanks and okay and nothing else. The affection's gone, their usual dynamic is gone. With me, she's still her usual self. She talks, she jokes, she decompresses, runs up to get her hug before I leave in the morning. And my husband has noticed. He asked me if I'd talk to her, help smooth things over, explain where he was coming from. I told him I think she already gets where he was coming from, but I also think she felt hurt a bit and she's allowed to feel that way. I said that you can't expect a kid to act like nothing happened when their entire sense of safety in a relationship gets rattled like that. That kind of shift in tone from being your safe person to being so harsh and cold does something to a kid, especially one who's not used to it. He didn't take it well. He said I was minimizing what she did, and that if anyone in the house deserved hurt feelings, it wasn't Danny. I pushed back and said I wasn't going to push her to pretend she's not feeling what she's feeling just to make him more comfortable. That's when things escalated. He said I was choosing her over him. I said I wasn't choosing anyone, I just wasn't willing to pretend this didn't change things. He said he was trying to keep her from turning into the kind of person who destroys other people's self-worth and walks away. He told me if I couldn't be on the same page with him as a parent, then maybe I needed space to go figure out where I stood. So I left. I'm at my sister's place right now, and she, of course, sides with him. Says it's good he's not trying to be the cool dad, that it's better to overreact now than regret not doing enough later. I don't disagree entirely. I just think there's a way to teach a kid something serious without making them feel like they're suddenly a stranger to you, so here I am. I didn't back him up when he asked me to. I told him the truth instead. I didn't think that made me the bad guy, but now I'm not so sure. Relevant comments. Top commenter: I think your husband had a reasonable reaction. Bullying is a really big deal right now, kids committing suicide, kids killing other kids, and maybe he just wanted to nip it in the bud before it snowballed into more egregious behavior. Let him parent his child. Reply: I'm not stopping him from doing anything, I just let him know how he did it has consequences. This consequence is that Danny won't be as warm with him as she was before. Commenter 1: Sounds like dad got bullied as a kid and he needs to have a vulnerable talk with his daughter about the feelings her actions brought up in him, and then apologize that trauma impacted how he dealt with this. Commenter 2: This was my first thought, dad got triggered by personal trauma, and suddenly his own kid became the enemy. I'd talk to him and try to figure out what happened to him at that age, and get him to tell that story to his daughter, hopefully then she'll realize where his behavior was coming from. And get him to actually tell her that he loves her, no matter what, and will always love her, and that his behavior was due to his own personal trauma, and had only peripherally to do with her. Commenter 3: He said he was trying to keep her from turning into the kind of person who destroys other people's self-worth and walks away. If that's his goal, he's doing a pretty good job of showing her the exact opposite. He's literally doing that to her. Commenter 4, NTA. I don't think there's anything to back up here. He's broken their dynamic and he needs to fix their dynamic. He needs to understand that withholding affection as a form of punishment absolutely does affect your relationship. AMD, he needs to fix it with her. Nothing you can say to her will fix it. He'll have to be the one to reach out. Bullying is terrible, and of course you shouldn't support her in that behavior. But it's possible to discipline and still love your kid. Update. It's been a bit since I last posted, and a couple things have changed, so I figured I'd give an update. I've seen a lot of perspectives that help me think through how everyone, my husband, Danny, even myself, may have gotten tangled up in our own emotions while trying to do what we thought was right. So thank you. After I cooled off and came back home, I told my husband we needed to talk, not just about Danny, but about why he reacted the way he did. I think deep down I already knew it wasn't just about her behavior at school. He finally opened up and admitted that the whole thing hit a raw nerve for him. When he was Danny's age, he was on the receiving end of some pretty cruel bullying, stuff that stuck with him for years. He said seeing Danny even dabble in that kind of behavior scared him. It wasn't about control, it was about fear. Fear that she'd become someone who could inflict the kind of pain he still carries. That fear made him pull back from her instead of leaning in, and it came out in this cold, distant way that hurt them both. I encouraged him to talk to Danny about it, not to justify what happened, but to explain it and take accountability. And he did. It wasn't some big emotional movie moment, but it was honest. He told her about what he went through, how ashamed he felt that he let his fear come between them, and that her behavior reminded him of people who had hurt him, but that didn't mean she was like them. She listened the whole time, really listened. And she surprised both of us. She didn't get teary or run into his arms or anything. But she did say that she got it. That she's actually been thinking a lot about why what she said mattered, and that the only reason she could reflect on it properly was because she didn't shut down emotionally afterward. She said she felt like she'd lost him for a while, and now that she knows why, she's trying to meet him halfway, but she's still cautious. She's being respectful, warmish, but not back to their old dynamic. Not yet, maybe not ever in the same way. But it's something. Funny enough, the girl Danny said those things about. They've been hanging out. Not besties, but weirdly, this mess kind of forced a level of honesty between them that ended up creating mutual understanding. The girl told Danny she was really hurt at first, because she thought Danny meant for her to see those messages. But once they had a real conversation, she realized that wasn't the case. She admitted she was more mad at the girl who leaked the texts, her friend who sent the screenshots around after a falling out. She told Danny she now gets that the stuff said in the chat wasn't meant to be public or malicious, just venting between teens. She even said she said worse things herself in private about people she was frustrated with. It didn't excuse it, but it helped her put it in perspective, and she let it go. As for therapy, I brought it up. I told my husband that maybe this would be a good opportunity for all of us to work on our dynamics, maybe family therapy, or even just individual support to unpack some of the emotional baggage that clearly still weighs heavy. He's open to family therapy, but absolutely shut down the idea of individual counseling for himself. Danny's kind of on the fence. She says she doesn't hate the idea, but she doesn't feel like she needs it either. Things aren't magically fixed, but we're in a more honest place now. Danny's been handling this whole situation with more maturity than I expected. My husband and I are still figuring out what parenting together means when we come at things from different emotional angles. I still stand by what I said in the original post. Kids don't just bounce back from emotional shifts, and pretending nothing happened doesn't help anyone. But I'm glad we didn't just leave things frozen there. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to give their opinions. Top comments. Commenter 1, wow, that's an incredible update. Sounds like you guys are raising an incredible human being who is able to self-reflect, which is unusual for anyone at any age, let alone a teenager. I'm glad your husband was able to open up and acknowledge that this brought back all the painful memories. It also sounds like knowing this you will all be communicating better in the future. I think even if the rest of the family doesn't want to participate in therapy, you should definitely go for it yourself. It never hurts to have an outside opinion. Commenter 2, communication is key. I am happy for you all. Up the team after a few therapy sessions. Commenter 3, great update. Nice to read that a healthy positive outcome can happen with honesty and communication. Hopefully with the experience of family counseling your husband will see the benefits of therapy and go for himself. If it is brought up again, tell him this. Therapy will give you an opportunity to talk to someone who isn't family or friends. That is actually freeing. Good luck. Stories number 2. 30F, think my boyfriend, 28M, resents me for earning more than him. So, I, 30F, met my boyfriend, 28M, a school teacher, 6 years ago, when I was still a med student. He helped me during the difficult years of my residency and we had what I thought was solid relationship. We have similar interests in movies, music, boarding games. We had some arguments, but they were always resolved through talking. We always have fun together. Now that I finally finished residency and landed a solid job with good pay, we even started looking for a place to move together. The thing is now that I finally feel like we can start truly enjoying things, with a more stable financial situation and with me having more free time, he seems to resent me. I don't really understand. It started innocent enough, with him making slight remarks about me now being a fancy doctor, when I bought some new, more better quality and professional clothes. But now the remarks never seems to stop. We went to a holiday together, I booked a better hotel room than usually, because I now can afford one, and was very excited about. He told me I was showing off my new doctor money. I paid for his entrance ticket to a concert to a band we both like. He told me he would prefer we had went to a local bar. I paid for dinner at a restaurant we always talked about trying in the future. He complains about the size of the portions. Yesterday, I gave him a new shirt. He told me, of course, now I have to be better dresses to be with you. I told him this phrase hurt me, and he told me he was just joking, to which I said that jokes were supposed to be funny and not hurtful, and he accused me of being too sensitive. I left short after because he refused to talk more about it. I simply do not understand this man. I pay these things for him because I wanted to enjoy them with him, and since I can afford them and he can't, it seemed obvious that I could just pay his part. Gift giving is one of my love languages, especially if this gift is an experience we can have together. When we started our relationship, it was clear I would earn more than him someday, me being at the time, future, MD and school teachers having, profoundly unfair, low salaries. He even talked about being a stay-at-home dad. I'm profoundly confused by his current behavior. It seems clear that he resents me and refuses to talk about it. At the same time, we've been together for 6 years, I love him dearly, and I'm hoping it's just a phase. Any advice on how to deal with this? TLDR, boyfriend, 28M, and I met when I was still a med student. Now that I'm an MD he won't stop making remarks about how much money I have. To the point that I'm questioning the future of this relationship. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why are you making this about money when the real problem is that he doesn't respect you? Reply. I didn't look at this from this perspective. At the moment, all I can think is that a man that was with me through my bad days, seems to resent me during my good days. I don't know why. Update. The next day, I sent him a message stating we need to have a conversation about what happened. I went to his house and told him I was hurt by his comments and especially by his dismissal of my feelings after. I said I understand that the recently shift of the dynamics on our relationship could be hard to deal with, but that I loved him and I was really happy about finally being able to buy and do things we spoke about in the past and wanted to share this with him. He apologized for his behavior and told me he was feeling insecure and lashing out because of that. I thought the conversation was going very well, and thing we be better. Then he dropped the bomb. He cheated with another teacher from his school. He explained that the guilt over this was also making him behave strangely. He told me he was feeling less worth and another woman wanting him helped him feel better. Helped his self-esteem. That it was just one time and it was a mistake. That he loved me and wanted to be better. I just stood there. I didn't even know how to react. Cheating is a deal breaker for me and I told him this at the beginning of our relationship. I thought he understood that. I thought he was the one. I think he noticed my initial lack of reaction because he implored me to say something. In the end, I just thanked him for his sincerity and told him we were over. He started crying and begging for forgiveness. Telling me I was the love of his life, and other things that to be truthful, I didn't really paid attention to because all I wanted at the moment was to leave his house and never see him again. I moved to the door and he blocked me. That I was when I got angry. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I made clear I would not tolerate cheating and he broke my trust so that was it. I was breaking up with him, the end. I was so angry I was shaking, and I'm proud that I managed to control myself enough not to yell. I just wanted to clear with my intentions, so that was it. He wouldn't stop messaging with excuses and then with angriness, but the final straw was a text saying how I was throwing away a 6 years relationship over a mistake. I told him that he was the one who threw the relationship away and that I would be mailing him his things then I blocked him. Now I'll have to search for a place to take STD tests that have different staff from the ones in my hospital. I don't want gossip about me. I have to take some time for me and then I guess I'll be back at the dating market. At 30. That will be fun. Sigh, sorry for the lack of happy ending, but I suppose that's life. TLDR, he cheated. Stories number 3. I 28F think a nap ruined my marriage to 30M. I 28F am married to 30M. I'll probably delete this as the morning, but I need to scream into the void. I've been married for under a year but with my husband for 6. We have a 3-month-old little girl who's fantastic. I'm a first-time mom who's a psalm. My husband WFH. My husband's not dumb, just emotionally inept sometimes. I've had a lot of resentment building since I was pregnant. His mom tormented me through my pregnancy by talking about miscarriages, stillbirths, and saying, "dead baby," to me every time my husband wasn't around. She denied, he sympathized with me, but nothing was truly ever done. Since I gave birth, my husband's just been clueless. When I was there recovering, he would go home and sleep and leave me all alone because the couch was uncomfortable. I had to call him 20 times to get him to wake up and come back to the hospital because I was lonely. Then when we left, he was asking me to carry things to the car with him. The nurse had to tell him I shouldn't carrying anything, I'd just given birth. When we got home, he complained about his lack of sleep. I was struggling learning how to nurse. He was my cheerleader through nursing, I have to give him credit there. As the first 2 months went by, I was consistently bawling about how sleep deprived I was while he was getting 8 to 10 hours of uninterrupted sleep every night. It caused a lot of fights because I couldn't hear him tell me he was exhausted without having a meltdown. Then his mom would come over and they'd leave a huge mess for me to clean on more than one occasion. He complained about the basement being messy, so I helped him lift things and clean it up. It caused me to start bleeding heavily, and my doctor told me I shouldn't be lifting anything heavy. This is a point of contention because my husband continuously asked me to help him lift heavy things and I couldn't, so he'd get annoyed. Then he'd complain about it all day. Now we're at month 3 and I think my marriage is over. We've been distant ever since baby arrived and I haven't wanted to have sex or be affectionate. Husband has been asking if I'm alright a lot and I say I'm fine. I don't know what else to say. But I feel miserable and tense up every time he walks in the same room as me. Today he was on my case about walking our dog. I'm so exhausted from exclusively breastfeeding and I don't have the energy to walk her. I had been up since 2:30 a.m. with my baby and just couldn't handle anything else on my plate. So he whined and moaned about doing it but promised me I could nap. I snapped and reminded him that I haven't slept a full 8 hours in months. He got pissy and stormed off. He avoided me the entire day and locked himself in his office. I spent the rest of the day randomly breaking down in full-blown sobs because I was so tired. 11 p.m. hits and he hasn't come out of his office, so I finally break and go get him. He gives me the cold shoulder and I just break down. All the lack of support just broke me. I told him I hated him, I wish I could go home, and I even mentioned divorce. He calmed me down and apologized for being selfish. When I asked what he did all day, he said he napped. He napped the whole day. While I was struggling to keep myself standing, he was napping. I broke down. I cried and cried. He was apologetic and showering me in sorry and I love yous. For the first time ever I couldn't tell him I loved him too. Now it's 2 a.m. and I can't sleep because I'm so distraught. He's snoring next to me and I just hate him right now. I want to take my baby and run away. I don't want to live here anymore. Being a single mom seems easier than dealing with all this emotional stress and neglect. What am I supposed to do? I just can't believe I'm ready to leave him all because he took a nap. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. His sorry and love words mean absolutely nothing. Do you have family that you and your child can go to? Reply. I moved to his home state on the other side of the country away from my family. Commenter 2. Wow, I'm so sorry, but a nap didn't ruin your marriage. He did by being a shit father and husband. I think you would be better off being divorced from him. He needs to learn to stand on his own 2 feet and take care of his own child that he also created. Was he always like this? Or was it a bait and switch? Reply. No, he's always been responsible and dependable. Picture perfect man to settle down and have a baby with. What happened, but I got pregnant and he changed into someone I don't recognize. OOP further adds. He completely shut down when his paternity leave ended. It felt like living with a ghost sometimes. He was physically present but not there emotionally. I was and am struggling to keep myself together, so I have no support to give him. I know this transition has been hard on him, but it's hard on me too. I've wanted to lean on him, but most times he's stressed about something else needing to be done and asking me to help with it. Hence why his mom would come over, she'd be helping him with his day-to-day tasks but make my life harder. A lot of this is due to our poor communication the past 3 months, and I think we resent each other for that. Update. I fixed the FTM, it means first time mom not female to male, so we talked. Well, I talked, he listened. I told him I couldn't do this anymore and something needed to change immediately or I was going to go back home and take my baby with me. He stared at me confused, but then he realized I had 2 bags packed by my dresser and ready to leave. I finally was able to articulate all the resentment that had been building. His mom's cruel and careless behavior, feeling abandoned at the hospital and now at home, how it feels that everything falls onto me so he can bring a paycheck home. I realized after saying all this I hadn't really told him how I was feeling but just continued to bottle it up. He was defensive at first and I gave him one warning that if this conversation was filled with excuses, I'm walking out. So he stopped and truly listened. He was genuinely remorseful. He only said sorry once at the end, and he meant it. Then he started asking me what I needed him to do. We made a plan and I finally feel like I can breathe a little easier. He has dog walks handled indefinitely. MIL is banned from the house and to have no contact with me or my baby. Once husband's off work I'm off duty for the day. I'll still breastfeed because I want to do that. I get a lot of fulfillment out of it, and if you saw the way my baby pats my boob when she nurses you would too. Her big hazel eyes are like a drug. I'm typing this while soaking in a warm bath. I've been promised the weekend to decompress and sleep until my heart's content. I'll pump instead of nurse this weekend and we have a stash of frozen milk he is planning on using. He knows what needs to be done, her routine, how much to feed her, so I know he's capable. I can actually hear him unloading the dishwasher right now. We are planning on doing something as a couple one day out of each weekend so I don't feel like just a mom. I can be a person too. We are going to go to couples counseling and I'm going to start individual therapy. He's already in therapy. He didn't have a dad who showed him what love looked like. He had an adult toddler as a father who threw tantrums and verbally abused him and his mother. My husband often comments on how my dad drops everything in a nanosecond for me and how he wants to be like that. But he's not. He's failing me and his daughter. That was really tough for him to hear. So, now we take it day by day. If he's actually capable of change, I'll have to wait and see. My bags are still packed and by the door. I guess I have them there as a reminder to myself that leaving is an option at any moment I please. That makes me feel a little better. I'm hopeful but not delusional. I know we might not be able to come back from this, and that's okay. I have to take care of myself so my little girl has a mama who smiles at things besides her. I have an appointment scheduled for a PPD screening and my mom's planning on visiting the start of next month. My family is ready with their door wide open when I choose to come home. Made me cry to hear my dad tell me he'll be on the first flight when I'm ready so I don't have to fly home alone. Thank you all for letting me spill my guts. Update, I 28F think a nap ruined my marriage to 30M. I have been wanting to update but have been scared. I've felt so overwhelmed and haven't been sure what to write. That post I wrote was me at my lowest. I wish I could take the version of me in time and just hug her. I was broken down and I needed anyone to be real with me. Those comments felt like a slap in the face and way too much to handle all at once. So I needed time to read through and digest it all. Thank you everyone. I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety shortly after I made my post. To the people who pushed me to talk to my doctor, thank you. My life has improved tenfold after getting proper treatment. I feel like in normal updates people dive into their lives and the details of what's happened. I don't want to do that. I want to say something that's more important than me and my life. To the new moms and their loved ones, if you or anyone you know has just had a baby, check in on them. If you've just had a baby, make sure you have someone who's tuned into you. Although you have brought new life into the world and it should be joyous, you are allowed to feel whatever you feel. Please, even if you feel fine, prioritize your mental health and well-being, because your baby depends on you to be healthy so they can be healthy. What you are going through is valid and important and you need someone to look out for you. While you look out for baby, someone needs to look out for you with the same love and care. As for me, my life has turned around. Taking care of myself was what I needed. I know people told me to leave my husband and how horrible he is, and like every other excuse post, you don't understand because you're not living it. I'm happy, safe, and healthy, but most importantly my daughter is thriving. It took a lot of work and it will continue to take a lot more. I love my husband and he has shown through time that he can be reliable and hasn't faltered. I really thought he would fail and was expecting it most days. But he hasn't, he actually turned it around and that feels better than winning the lottery. I guess people can change when they really want to. Can't they? I could go on but things are better. My daughter's happy and healthy. She's feisty like me and nothing's gonna stop her. She loves her daddy as much as I do, sometimes more, and now with a clear head I can see that things are okay because we have, and continue to learn how to communicate with one another. If I could pass anything on, check on your loved ones. Sometimes they don't even know how hard they're struggling until you pull the wool from over their eyes. Thank you to everyone. Posting was the push I needed to get help. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Did he ever apologize for making you move heavy things that caused you to start bleeding? Reply. Yes, he has. He continues to and has acknowledged how his selfishness came at my expense in the most vulnerable time in my life. It's shame that follows him, and he asks randomly if I really do forgive him. It's uncomfortable to see how awful he feels about what happened, because all I want to say is, it's okay. But we both know it's not and never will be. So it's icky knowing he's gonna live with that, but I also know it's for the best. Commenter 2. I'm glad he realized it and is taking accountability for it. I'm curious, though, if he has ever explained WTF was going through his head during those moments. Reply. He has. It's nothing special, pretty lackluster explanations. Typical, because I haven't felt it, it must mean it's not that bad, infuriating bullshit and willful ignorance. Stories number 4. Wife wants to name our twins Romeo and Juliet. My wife is a huge Shakespeare fan, and she loves the idea of naming the twins Romeo and Juliet. I'm against it. I can't get over the idea of naming our kids after a fictional couple who die. I do really like the name Juliet. I even suggested that if we go with Juliet, maybe we could name our son Tybalt after Juliet's cousin. She insists that if we use Juliet, we have to use Romeo. I'll admit Romeo and Juliet is one of the only Shakespeare plays I've read, but I've tried to look online for some other Shakespearean sibling names we could use, like Ophelia and Laertes from Hamlet or Claudio and Isabella from Much Ado About Nothing. She hasn't liked any of them because either their source isn't serious enough or the names aren't recognizable famous as Shakespearean. She's really stuck on this. On their own, I think they're lovely, but I don't think they work for twins. Is there a way I can convince her this is a bad idea, or does anyone have other Shakespearean name suggestions that might win her over? I'm not sure if I'm overthinking the meaning behind the names and being weird about it, but I can't talk with anyone about this because she wants the twins' names to be a surprise. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Weren't Viola and Sebastian twins in Much Ado About Nothing? I think those are both lovely names on their own, and I'm not sure many people would immediately think of Shakespeare the way they would with Romeo and Juliet. And they're actually siblings, not love interests. Edit. It was Twelfth Night, sorry. Not Much Ado About Nothing. Reply. I didn't know about this play, I'll check it out, but I love those two names, and the fact that they are twins might sway my wife. Thank you. Commenter 2. Are there any similar names she'd be open to, like Rowan or Roland instead of Romeo? Naming your kids after famous lovers definitely seems creepy to me. Reply. She doesn't like any changes, modern versions, they have to be from a Shakespeare work. That's why I've been trying to find names from established siblings. Commenter 4. The specifics of Romeo and Juliet aside, neither you nor your wife should get to be stuck on these or any other names. If you vetoed them, they're out. It is also true that naming siblings after a couple nearly synonymous with young love is ill-advised, but even if it were not, neither parent should get to bully or steamroller the other into a naming choice. Frame this differently with her. You are allowed to veto names just as she is allowed to veto your choices. Do not get mired in the literary merits or demerits of various Shakespearean over or characters, because it is beside the point. This is the first of many parenting disagreements you will have in the future, in which you will need to compromise to find a solution. Now is the time to practice that skill and learn how to listen to one another's hard limits. Reply. We did that before she got hung up on these two names. At first, we considered names from the books we both liked, but Romeo and Juliet was the first Shakespeare play she saw, and once she got this idea, she didn't want to hear any more. I'm hoping I can talk her out of it, but if I can't, I might show her this thread. Thank you. Update. Thanks for all the comments and name suggestions. I didn't want to speak badly about my wife, but yes, I'm well aware of how deranged it is to name a pair of siblings after a fictional couple, and I was too much of a coward to bring up the incest thing in my original post. In defense of my wife, her pregnancy has been very hard on her. It's her first, and naming the kids is the only thing she's seemed happy about these days. For context, she's seen the Romeo and Juliet play in person and is an avid reader of plays in general, but she's always liked Shakespeare most because they were the ones she studied. A few years ago, she even ran a Shakespeare club for kids at the local library. More recently, she was rereading the play and suggested we name the kids after the main characters. I was taken aback and told her we'd sleep on it, but the following day, it was all she'd talk about, and she was so happy I didn't have the heart to talk her out of it. She became more and more fixated on it as the weeks went on. After making this post, I asked her again why it had to be these two names. She told me she always liked symbolic meanings and grand declarations of love, and she wanted that sort of bond to carry over to the kids in a family sense. She also mentioned that out of all the plays she'd read, Romeo and Juliet was the most iconic, that people would be able to recognize them and that it would make it easier to talk to other parents if they asked why the kids were named Romeo and Juliet. I sat on this for a few days. And honestly, it felt like I didn't know her. I pray this is her pregnancy brain talking, but this isn't her. She's always been a romantic and fixates on trends ideas, but this is just weird. Yesterday, I finally told her point blank that we were not naming our kids after such a famous couple under any circumstances, and I showed her this thread. She refused to look at it and broke down. My wife asked me why I couldn't just let her have this. Some suggested she needed to hear how crazy she was from someone who wasn't me, so I told her best friend what was happening, and she was more horrified than I was, how I probably should have reacted. Her best friend came over after work, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I know they watched the 1968 movie version of Romeo and Juliet together, which I've been told has a sex scene. I think that snapped some sense into my wife. Her friend left a few hours ago, and my wife's been quiet, but she asked if we could look over the names I picked out again. Thanks again for all the comments. I think we both needed reality slapped into us, her from her delusion and me from my apparent lack of common sense. She's still dead set on something Shakespeare theater related and somewhat matching, but now that her head is clearer, I hope we can pick something better. From the quick read of the comments I showed her, she did like the name Sebastian, but she's on the fence about Viola. I'll let her off the hook for now since she's so sick, but once we're back to normal life, I'm not letting her forget this happened. I'll update this again once we finally have names picked out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, the way you're talking about your parted in this paired with you saying you're not gonna let her forget this is raising some questions for me. You realize that you fumbled the bag here too, right? Like not just because you didn't say anything initially, but you let her get excited about the names for weeks. You let her think you were okay with the names and build hope, and you build up your frustrations until you finally spoke up, but sounds like you were harsh about it for what? She didn't see the problems the names would cause, and when it was brought to her attention by her friend she did the right thing and changed her mind. She did the right thing, and you still sound like you have anger towards her when it's nobody's fault but yours that you didn't voice your concerns for weeks and instead pushed her friend to do it for you. Reply, I'm not sure I worded it well. But she's been very sick during this whole thing, not able to eat regularly, not sleeping, horrible cramps, etc. Naming the kids was the only thing she seemed really excited about, because the actual pregnancy hasn't been good for her. We agreed that she would get the ultimate say in the names because she's carrying the kids. I didn't want to burst her bubble when she first got this idea, but as the weeks went on, I realized how serious it was. I'm not mad at her for the choice, I'm mad more at myself for not doing anything about it, and at both of us for not realizing what it could do to our kids' future. But I shouldn't have waited so long to speak with her. The last comment was that if we ever have kids again, I hope she won't want to name them after a couple again, not meant maliciously, but I see I didn't say that well either. Commenter 2, is it possible your wife might be struggling with some sort of hormone-related mood issues? Some women experience prenatal issues such as prenatal depression, prenatal anxiety, and/or prenatal psychosis. I'm not saying it sounds like she has any of those conditions right now, but it's just good to have an awareness of such in case she seems to be more worried in general, fixated on things, energy levels are consistently low, etc. Reply, she's been like this as long I've known her, jumping from fandom to fandom, getting immersed in something for a month and then not touching it for a year. This time has been hard on her, which is why I'm trying not to do anything that would make her uncomfortable, but if she ever needs anything, I'll be here for her. The main concern is the physical symptoms right now, but I'll keep an eye out for anything else. Thank you for this information. Commenter 3, I'm glad this has been resolved, but please don't start your life as parents by not letting her off the hook. If she decides that it's a funny story and feels comfortable retelling it, that's cool, but otherwise I wouldn't tease her about this. Plenty of parents have chosen far worse names, combinations of names, and she was reasonable once she really understood the objection better, after you hadn't been direct with her for weeks. Reply, I meant it more as a, I won't let her name any more babies we have after couples, but I didn't say it right. But I'm as much to blame for this happening. I agree I let it get out of hand. I'm not going to hold this over her head, and as you said it could be a funny story if she wants to tell it. Thank you, I'll show her this. Final update. I wanted to write a quick final update, as it's been a few months and everything has calmed down. My wife had the babies last month, they're both healthy, and we're both exhausted. The names we ultimately chose are Sebastian Jacob and Juliet Elizabeth, inspired by Sebastian from Twelfth Night and Juliet from Romeo and Juliet, as well as Jacob and Elizabeth from the Jacobean and Elizabethan eras of theater, when Shakespeare wrote. A big thank you to the person who suggested that, my wife loved it. We had the twins at home for a few weeks before we named them. My wife was finally able to see them as our children, rather than extensions of herself to advertise her hobbies, hence the separate but still Shakespeare-themed names, which hopefully won't be too obvious. My wife's best friend will be their godmother, as a thank you for her support and reality checks throughout everything. And finally, a big thank you to everyone here for your name suggestions and advice. It helped more than you'll know. Top comments. Commenter 1, love this update. The names you chose are so beautiful and maintain the literary theme while respecting your kids as people and not billboards. I really love the names. Reply, I'm hoping these are much more subtle than what we originally had planned. All is going well so far. Thank you. Commenter 2, congratulations. Adorable names, and it's great that you were able to arrive at something you both like and that sets your kids up for success. Commenter 3, Sebastian and Juliet are lovely and definitely not too on the nose with them both being Shakespeare references. Congratulations. Stories number 5. Aita for not letting my nephew use my car for prom, but said I might let his sister use it. I, 32M, have a nephew Josh, 18M, and a niece Sarah, 16F, and this argument came up when visiting my sister. My car is a very modified classic car, a 72 Challenger with a modern motor swap, 6-speed manual, and more mods putting out over 1,000 horsepower. It is not a beginner driver-friendly car. Josh didn't get his license until 3 months ago, and I am pretty sure he fubbed numbers to take the test for the 3rd time. I have seen him drive once, and even offered to ride with him before to help pump his hours up and to continue to drive so he can feel more comfortable. Sarah goes to car shows with me and has a modified Miata that she drives everywhere. She got her license 2 weeks after turning 16 and has had it for 8 months now. She drove with me every day after getting her permit, and just has that drive to drive. Before anyone says I have my favorite, Josh and I game every night, and I built him a custom PC for getting on a roll. He is amazing at tech, loves gaming, and if he decides to continue, I will be paying for his college and will offer him a job at my business which offers specialized tech services. I have told both of them the dollar amounts I have saved up that will be for them for the future. If they want to use it for school, training, down payment on a house, travel, it will be theirs as long as they can tell me they have a plan. I bought both of them their first cars after they got their licenses and try to keep everything as close to fair as I can with them. I was over for dinner and Josh said he can't wait for prom and was asking if he could use my car to drive his date. I told him I was not comfortable with him driving my car, and that I would gladly drive him and his date, and even wear a suit and funny hat to be his driver. He threw a fit and said that I would let Sarah take the car if she asked. I said if she kept driving and showing the control she has, would consider it. I told him I feel he has not been driving long enough to be able to control this car, and that I would be worried for his and his date's safety. I also told him I would trust him with my PC before I'd even let Sarah play The Sims on it, and it's just how they are different people with different interests. My sister said I should have just said no, but I have always told them I will never lie to them and explain myself why, because they are almost adults and deserve to hear the truth. I won't be rude to them, however. He has since not played games with me, and not responded to my texts. His father says I am TAH, my sister said I should have just said no but now should just let him use the car, Sarah says she would be scared to drive the car, our parents said I should have just said no. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, dude's 32 plays video games with his nephew every night, puts money away for the niece and nephew. I think it's time GE grows up and finds outside interests and let the parents rent their son a supercar. Seems like a really weird situation. Reply, I run my own tech company, my wife died to cancer 4 years ago. I decided to live my life the way I want, and that includes spending time with my family. I do not drink, I do not smoke. My house has been paid off for a few years. My bills are my business, keeping the lights on, and my employees paid happy, and insurance. I'm not going to be a slave, and if I can keep them from having to slave away I will. Commentator asks what car Josh has. Reply, the car that he, his parents, and I, picked out is a more practical Subaru. Nothing fancy but a reliable car that will get him and his date to prom without issue. There was a situation over Mother's Day weekend. He is lucky I don't take his car back as payment. Yes. My name is on both of their cars. I may post an update after everything is fixed. Update. My parents returned from snowbirding, and so, we decided that they would use my house to host Mother's Day. I won't go into detail, but after being told this, I made a nice dinner for my family and had everyone over. I tried to talk with Josh but he was still obviously upset that I did not change my mind to let him use the car. At one point while hosting outside, I hear a thunk and Josh's dad gets a smirk on his face. Sarah goes pale and just mutters he didn't. The family goes to see what the source of the noise was and finds Josh putting a bat away and a very obvious dent in my fender. A wave of calm comes over me and I know exactly what to do. Get in, I tell him. Firmly. After a minute of this he hops in the passenger seat and I take off. For legal reasons I will not explain exactly how I drove my car, but the happened in Mexico crew would be proud. After we get back to my house, he is pale, and I need a new set of tires. My sister yells at me that I could have killed him, his father is quietly drinking my beer, and my dad is trying to help Josh walk, with the adrenaline pumping through him. Sarah mutters told you so, as I tell my sister that she and her husband have to pay to fix my fender or else I will get the authorities involved. My mother is crying upset, and the day was ruined as people packed up and left and more words were said yelled. Currently the car I bought for Josh is sitting in my driveway. I have already fixed my fender and sent a bill to my sister who told me to shove it and that family doesn't treat family this way. I have called my buddy who is the local sheriff, and can have charges pressed. I do have video footage of him willfully damaging my property, however. Josh apologized for everything. The drive was the wake-up call he needed and said he would get a job to pay for fixing my car even though his mother has told him it's my problem to deal with. He said he was being a stupid kid and needed to grow up. I told him on top of fixing the car, he now gets to take Sarah's place of cleaning my work building and garage. His car is now just my car again, and he needs to figure out all the rides he needs to keep everyone happy. He told me to come get the PC I built him, but I told him to hold on to it for now. The bill. A little over $2,000. Luckily I had the car painted last year, and still had some mixed paint without the hardener in it. Worked the dent out, replaced the fender brace, replaced the inner fender, replaced that portion of the stiffening kit, and had the fender repainted and feathered into the surrounding body panels. Vintage cars are not cheap to work on. There has also been an incident involving Sarah, 100% not her fault, and so she is staying with me until things can get figured out. That will be posted elsewhere. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, wow, that update was wild. I hope your sheriff friend is able to get them to see sense. Has Josh said anything to his parents about you being right not to let him drive? Reply, he did. My sister is upset with me for the reasons involving Sarah. It's almost funny that the people who claim, you don't do this to family, are the first to throw family out when something doesn't fit. Update 2. 2 months before she turned 17 my monster of a sister and BL kicked their daughter out of their home. Backstory, or else I will just rant about how evil that family is. I got home from working late one Friday, and having worked 12 hours that day was ready for dinner and to go to bed. As I am cooking my phone rings to a number I don't recognize, so I put on my owner of the business voice and answer with my usual greeting, only to hear sobs and uncle. Can you come get me? I can't go home. When I tell you I threw my pan in the sink and took off. I get to the gas station down the street from sister's house, and there is Sarah, looking like she was halfway to death. I hug her, get her to calm down a bit. Get her into my truck and we go back to my house. We get home, and ask her for as much info as she wants to tell me. She just wants to go to bed. Sure, is she okay, does she need hospital or police, anything? No, just sleep. The next day my sister calls me, and verbatim, sis, hey double. Have you heard yet? Me, no. Is this about Sarah? Sis, yeah, BL cousin, caught her and, Sarah's friend, at, public area close by that identifies me, and they were all over each other. Me, hard to see her doing that in public bu dash. Sis, heavy kissing. Double. Making out. Being a little whore. Me, sis. It's natural, people kiss, is that why dash? Sis, we kicked that skank out we didn't rice dash. I hung up the phone. Let me tell you, I was seeing red and ready to roll. Anyone who knows me, and can guess by my responses, knows I like to have a plan, I like to think ahead, I need to have my next steps ready. First step. I called my sheriff friend. Told him what I knew so far, so no. I am not harboring a runaway. Next step. Called the local PD, talked to the captain, who told me there was nothing he could do till her parents called them and reported her as a runaway, or Sarah calls them and reports she has been kicked out. In his words, where she is so close to adulthood. It would not be resolved before she is 18. Last wait for Sarah to wake up. She didn't get up till late, and honestly looked like she hadn't slept. I asked her if she wanted a hug, she nodded and cried. I have never seen her so upset, and thinking about it again breaks my heart. When she started to calm down and feel better, I told her flat out, Sarah. I love you and accept you. Your mother called me and told me a bit about what's going on. I don't care what she has to say. As long as you are safe and happy, that's all I care about. She cried again and hugged me tighter. Now for her side of the story. She and friend were hanging out at the location. Just having a good time. At one point they were sitting and eating food, laughing and joking, and then they kissed. According to her it was more than a peck, but not all over each other or anything. After they were done hanging out, Sarah dropped her off and went home. The second she walked through the door there were her parents just down her throat. Apparently, the cousin of BL sent a photo to their family group chat with a message basically saying, "Hey, BIL, is this how you are raising your kids?" A lot of yelling, a lot of tears. They told her that she needed to give up her phone, pack a bag and go live with her friend if she wants that lifestyle. Well, as soon as Sarah left, they sent the photo to the friend's parents and called them. They weren't happy, and said she wasn't welcome there. She went to the gas station, called me and here we are. Aftermath. Called my lawyer, got him to give me some info for family lawyers in the area. Sister has sent me text after text, and call after call to get Sarah to do some really unthinkable things if she wants to get home. Sister has all but admitted to kicking Sarah out for not being straight. We worked with the family lawyer to get an emergency protective order and worked with CPS to try and give me temporary custody. Sister tried to claim she ran away from home. I used the text sent to me to prove they are trying to send her to conversion camps and kicked her out if she wants to live that wicked lifestyle. Sister might be getting charges filed. TBD. Abandoning her child. Courts are slow. I sent a tow truck to the house to get Sarah's car. They did not want to give up the keys. I had a spare, and threatened to call the police where it is in my name. It's been 3 months. The friend is gone because she got in trouble with her family. We got some of Sarah's things with the help of my sheriff friend. Other things worth missing, so I replaced what I could. Tons of clothing, makeup, some other personal belongings were all gone. Her phone and laptop were claimed to belong to the family and hard to prove they were her personal things. Josh is in college, staying on campus, working. He paid the bill for my car, was cleaning my garage and work building every other day, and worked whatever he could over the summer. He said he will be NC or LC with his parents once he can figure out how to pay for his own things. He got some good grants and scholarships but life. I told him there is a place here for him if he needs it. Once he gives me his plan, the money I saved for him is his. Sarah is back in school and just trying to get through everything. For her 17th birthday we went to a Comic-Con type of thing. I paid for a group of her friends to be able to join us, then we went to a car show the next day. I got her a new laptop and cell phone, told her they are hers with no BS. She misses her parents but understands that they don't accept her. I am paying for her to get some counseling sessions in. Just to help her work through it in a healthy way and understand this is not her fault. I told her she can go to as many or as few sessions as she wants. My parents are not taking sides, and it upset my sister to the point of pushing them away. In her mind, if they are not against me, they are against her. I reminded my parents that by not saying what my sister did was wrong, is supporting her. I was told to not put words in their mouth. I called them bigots like my sister and asked if that's where she got it from. A story for another time. It would be just as long as this one. Since TikTok has ran with the original story, more family has found out and put 2 and 2 together. My sister is extra mad at me. Because I am good with computers, obviously I was the one to put the story all over TikTok. She is trying to turn the story that I am turning everyone against her, poisoning Sarah with money, and whatever BS she can try and turn. The majority of my family sides with Sarah. The majority of BL family sides with BL. I have asked Sarah what she wants to do for the upcoming holidays. We will probably do a Friendsgiving and keep it low-key. I have a protection order against my sister and her husband's at this point. Sarah's is a little more tricky, but they are no longer listed for her school contact and the police will be called if they show up there. It's not much, but anything is better than nothing at this point. Not much else to report. New update. Wow, hard to believe it's been 2 years. I have had a few comments, messages, and more. Sounds like a larger YouTube channel posted my story and a large number of people have seen it. Hi random internet people, here is the update. Life goes on. Josh is still in college, has his own apartment, and got a job closer to where he goes to school. He lives with his GF, and has a plan for the future. He has access to his account I made for him on his terms, and is doing what he wants. I still enjoy his company, and like the man he is becoming. He made up with his parents, but hasn't forgiven them, which upset Sarah, but he is his own person. I think he is hoping that him still talking to them, he can help try to make things normal, but I am not sure. We don't discuss it. Sarah still lives with me, aged out of the system before anything could be done. She has a good group of friends, and a job that she enjoys but wants more. She has not forgiven her parents, and I told her she needs to do what's best for her. She did not take my car to prom. She took her own Miata, and had a blast minus the fact her date stood her up. Teenage girl drama never ends, being a sudden parent is harder than I thought. I wouldn't trade it for anything. She still goes to regular counseling and I encourage her to express herself however she needs. I have changed the basement around to hold an area for her to have her costume stuff, cosplay, and she has her own bay in the garage for her car, and has slowly been buying her own tools. I have gone to counseling myself to help with the feeling of loss that I was holding onto since my wife died. It has helped me quite a bit, and helped me realize exactly what and why I was acting the way I was, and why I let my family get away with so much. My sister and her husband got some mild plea deal BS, that ended up with a minimal fine, and some community service. The joys of our police system. Sarah is looking into going to a tech trade school for welding and/or auto mechanic. I joked if I could hire her to work on my cars for me. Company is going crazy, I have hired more techs, had a couple move to different jobs, and have been straight out for the last 2 years. Sarah, Josh, and Josh's GF will be joining me on a trip to Disney in the summer. Sarah and I want to build lightsabers. Josh is excited about the world of Avatar. I asked Sarah if she was okay with Josh and his GF joining us. She said yes. I have a new GF. We met, and hit it off, and decided to see how things go. Still early, but for the first time I don't feel like I am betraying my wife. She is not joining us for Disney, she wants us to have a great family trip we deserve. My parents suddenly don't force my house for family gatherings anymore. Weird. They also can't understand how much they have, and continue to hurt Sarah by supporting what her mother did. Sarah suggested we host international exchange students. I am still on the fence about it, but will consider it. I am not used to the house being this full all the time, and I am starting to like it. FAQ. Why are you and your sister so different? My parents spoiled her, and had nothing left for me. I was 14 when Josh was born, and from that moment on, I could fend for myself in my parents' eyes. They had to help her and her kid, then kids when Sarah came around when I was 16. There is an age gap between my sister and myself, and I think you can guess which one of us was the oops. Your wife. She died. Cancer found when we were trying to start our own family. It sucks. She had a heart of gold, and a smile that made the worst days feel like a dream. She was loving, gentle, but held her ground. She would tell me when I was being an ass. A 5 feet 100 pounds woman who had strength that made me question myself some days. I miss her every day. We met at a gym when we were 15-14. She had a great supporting family. I did not. Her mother welcomed me like one of her own kids from day one, and when we started dating it only got stronger. It was never a, "Are you staying for supper?" She just made me a plate and made sure I ate it. I am still close to their family. Why are you so close with your family? My wife encouraged me to get closer to my family. She couldn't imagine not being close to her large family. She understood my family wasn't the best, but hoped we could all be civil. Josh and I bonded over video games. Sarah and I bonded over cars. When my company got big, and I bought my house, my side of the family decided to use it for everything they could. All the holidays happened at my house, on my property. Why are you doing what you're doing? In general. Because I want to. For Sarah and Josh. I saw a bit of myself in Sarah. She never got along well with her parents, she wasn't a girly girl, but does wear dresses, and her dad could at best be called a finance bro, sweater vest, plays golf, drinks, and is never home, works in some sort of banking kind of guy. Josh was the normal boy, played sports, liked sports, got into video games, likes video games, but we were closer in age than the other family members, so we just kind of hung out at events. I was the designated babysitter for a long time. Is Sarah XYZ on social media platform? No idea. I will not make comments on anything Sarah does, doesn't do, post, might not post, or anything for her own personal life outside of what I have said above, and posted before. That is up to her to disclose or not. You need cameras. Got them, have been very open about having them. I think that's the big reason nothing has happened at my house garage work. Nice story, fake, I wish. I do truly wish. Do you have any friends who have come out? Especially those who grew up in a religious home? Ask them how it went. Check out the LGBT+ subreddits, look at what half those people have had to go through. Her story is minor compared to others, and that is horrifying. We need more love, and less hate. Stories number 6. Aita for giving my girlfriend an ultimatum about her male best friend. I, 28M, have been dating my girlfriend, Sarah, 26F, for just over a year now, and while I love her, there's one thing that's been eating at me since the very beginning, her relationship with her male best friend, Jake, 27M. Jake has been Sarah's ride or die since college, and I knew from the start that they were close. But what I didn't realize was how much it would impact our relationship. I've always tried to be the chill, trusting boyfriend. I don't want to be the guy who's threatened by a platonic friendship. But, honestly, it's gotten to the point where I feel like I'm the third wheel in my own relationship. Jake and Sarah are practically inseparable. They hang out multiple times a week, dinners, movie nights, spontaneous late-night drives, and I'm usually not even invited. If I try to join, it's awkward, like I'm crashing their private joke-filled world that I'm not a part of. It stings, but I tried to let it go for the sake of keeping the peace. But then things started to cross a line. Jake texts her constantly, even when we're together on dates. It's not just casual stuff, either. He calls her babe and sweetheart, and when I brought this up to Sarah, she laughed and said it was just their thing and that it didn't mean anything. Apparently, they've been calling each other that for years. But to me, it feels like there's more to it. Who calls their best friend babe when they're in a relationship? Then there was the night I stayed over at her place and woke up at 2 a.m. to find Sarah on FaceTime with Jake. She was giggling like a schoolgirl, whispering so she wouldn't wake me. When I asked her about it the next morning, she brushed it off, saying Jake needed someone to talk to. But what about me? Am I just here as background noise while she stays emotionally tethered to this guy? The final straw came last weekend. Sarah and I had been planning a special weekend getaway for our 1-year anniversary, something we'd been looking forward to for months. But, out of nowhere, Jake invites her to a concert the same weekend. Sarah asked me if we could postpone our anniversary trip so she could go with Jake instead because it's a band they both absolutely love. I was floored. Our anniversary, something we'd been planning for months, could just be rescheduled for Jake. It was like I didn't even matter. I told her that this was too much and asked her to set some clear boundaries with Jake, like no more pet names, no more hanging out one-on-one all the time, and definitely no more prioritizing him over our relationship. She blew up at me, calling me controlling and insecure. She even said, "You knew Jake was part of my life when we started dating. Why are you trying to change me now?" Things got worse when Jake apparently told her that I was being toxic and trying to manipulate her. Sarah is siding with him, saying I'm overreacting and that nothing has ever happened between them. She's now furious with me for giving her an ultimatum when all I really asked for were some boundaries that would make me feel like I'm her boyfriend, not just a side character in her life with Jake. Now, Sarah's giving me the silent treatment, and I'm starting to feel like I've somehow become the villain in my own relationship. Am I losing my mind here? I'm not asking her to drop Jake completely, just to prioritize us and respect our relationship. But maybe I've been unreasonable. So, Reddit, Aita for asking my girlfriend to set boundaries with her male best friend, or is this friendship way too close for comfort? Comments. Commenter 1. Do everyone a favor and end this thing now. You will be doing Sarah a favor, she can have Jake. You will be doing Jake a favor, he can have Sarah. Most of all though, you will be doing yourself a huge favor because you can find someone who sees you as her ride or die, and someone who is actually loyal to you because, after all, loyalty is the single most important factor in friendship, not being nice or liking the same things. Sarah does not believe she needs to be loyal to you. You know how I know. We can only truly know what we believe, versus what we think we believe, by watching how we act. His actions speak volumes. Commenter 2. Nta. First point, Jake can have an opinion but that is not relevant to your relationship. Honestly, it sounds like they are dating. I think you giving an ultimatum was never going to end good for you. Honestly, you know he is her number one priority, even if she doesn't say it in words, she declares it in all her actions. I think fundamentally Jake is the third person in your relationship and he will always win. If you can handle that, stay. If not, go find your ride or die person. Life is too short to be uncomfortable and frustrated in your romantic relationship after a year. Commenter 3. You are not losing your mind, their friendship and connection is not a normal friendship behavior when you have a boyfriend. She doesn't prioritize you, she prioritizes him, and it is an old saying, you should not judge by their words but look to their action. Her actions tells you clearly that you are not as important. So treat yourself right, and leave her. You're not toxic, she is. Update. I first want to thank you all for the amazing support you all have given me. After reading over the comments and talking to some of you guys, I had made up my mind. I was done being second place in my own relationship, and I was ready to walk away. But what happened next surprised me. Saturday night Sarah came over to talk. I was prepared to have the breakup conversation, but before I could get a word in, she told me something unexpected. She had cancelled the concert plans with Jake. She said that after our last conversation, she realized how serious I was, and it made her think about everything. She told me she had been selfish, that she had been taking our relationship for granted. She said she told Jake she couldn't go to the concert, and instead, she wanted to spend the weekend with me, no distractions, no third wheels, just us. I was honestly shocked. Part of me didn't believe it. For months, I had been asking her to set boundaries with Jake, and suddenly, she was doing it. It felt surreal, like a last-minute effort to save something that was already broken, but she seemed sincere. She apologized, not just for the concert situation, but for all the times she had ignored my feelings, dismissed my concerns, and prioritized Jake over us. She admitted she had been blind to how much it hurt me and said she didn't want to lose me. It was emotional. She was crying, and I could see how much it scared her that I was about to walk away. For the first time in a long time, it felt like she was choosing me. But here's the thing, as much as I appreciated her apology, it didn't magically fix everything. I told her that while canceling the concert was a good step, it didn't erase all the hurt. I still felt like I had been competing with Jake for too long, and trust once broken is hard to rebuild. We ended up spending the weekend together as planned. We didn't go on the big anniversary trip, but we stayed in, cooked together, and had long conversations about everything, our relationship, Jake, the future. It was a roller coaster of emotions. There were moments where I felt like maybe we could make this work, but also moments where the damage felt too deep to repair. By today, I was emotionally drained. Sarah seemed to think things were heading in the right direction, but I still wasn't sure. I needed space to think. So, I told her we should take a break, give each other some time to reflect and see if this relationship was something we both wanted to fight for. She didn't take it well. She cried again, begged me not to go, said she'd prove to me that she was serious about changing. But I needed to be alone, to clear my head without the constant push and pull of emotions. So, I left. I haven't spoken to her since. We agreed to give it a couple of weeks before we decide anything, but to be honest, I'm still leaning toward ending things for good. Could she really have set boundaries with Jake after everything? I find this hard to believe after months of me begging. I feel like I've already checked out of the relationship, and while her efforts are appreciated, I can't shake the feeling that it's too little, too late. I'll always care about Sarah, but this whole situation has made me realize how important it is to be with someone who values and respects you from the beginning. Someone who doesn't make you feel like you have to compete for their attention. You all think she might have cheated on me with Jake, so Reddit I ask, should I give her another chance or should I go through with the breakup? Comments. Commenter 1. Sounds like she found your Reddit to me. Commenter 2. Either that or Jake the snake made a move on her when he felt he had convinced her that OP is toxic. Commenter 3. Should you give her another chance or should you walk away? It's a question only you could answer. What is your gut telling you? Do you feel she was being sincere? Did you ask her if she cheated on you with Jake? What I'm also curious about is what happened between her and Jake after your last discussion. I don't mean did they have sex. No, I mean did they talk about the situation, did he shoot his shot to win her over and she rejected him and maybe see the situation for what it is? Some suggested that maybe she wanted to have a relationship with him, but he refuses to settle down. I reread the original post. Talking to him 2 a.m. in the morning while you're asleep, late night drives, going to dinners and movies, while she's in a relationship with you. That's fucking weird and very suspicious. I'm curious, did she come over on her own accord or did you ask her to come over to talk? If she came on her own, that's a big plus. I think you have a good idea about taking a break. If it were me, I don't know. After the break, you have to see how you feel about her. Also, what happens to Jake in all this? Is she going to part ways with him or is he still going to be in the background? I think I would tell her that Jake has to go. Point out that he told her you were being toxic and you don't trust him. Please keep us updated on what you decide. Update. Hey Reddit. It's been about 8 months since my last update. Honestly, I didn't plan on ever coming back to this. After everything happened, I kind of just wanted to forget about it. Plus, Sarah eventually found the post, so I stayed quiet. But at this point, I don't care who I piss off. I think I owe you guys the end of the story, plus a lot of you guys have been asking for an update, so here it is. So, after my last post, we decided to go on a break. We had no contact for 2 weeks, and those 2 weeks messed with my head more than I expected. I didn't know what she was doing, who she was talking to, or where things stood. Eventually, I reached out and told her I wanted to break up. I thought I was ready. She broke down, cried, begged, told me she'd cut Jake off for good. Said she'd block him, delete him, whatever it took. She told me she couldn't imagine her life without me and just wanted one more chance, and like an idiot, I gave it to her because I still loved her. This was the second person in my life I could say I truly loved. I didn't want to start over with someone new when I'd known her for so long. She wasn't just my partner, she was my best friend. I didn't want to lose what we had. At first, things were okay. She was more present, we spent more time together and she tried harder, but I wasn't the same. I had this weird feeling in my gut that I couldn't trust her, even if I pretended to. I just couldn't forget everything that happened, and I won't sit here and act like I was perfect either. When she was trying her hardest, I wasn't putting in the same effort. That hurt her. This went on for about 3 months. It started getting better, little by little. I thought we were making progress. I still wasn't all the way in, but I could finally say I saw a future with her. But the thing that really bothered Jake. She did stay true to her word and unfollowed him when we first got back together. This was almost 4 months ago. But one day while I was at work, I was scrolling on IG and saw that they had followed each other again. I asked her about it and she said it didn't mean anything, that they weren't talking. I let it go. Maybe I didn't want to know the truth. Fast forward a few weeks. We were at my place, and she had fallen asleep first. That's when I saw an Instagram notification. I couldn't open it, didn't know her password, and I wasn't about to try and scan her face while she slept. So, I ignored it. I couldn't sleep. I was restless. But I told myself I was overthinking, and I wanted to trust her. Fast forward another week. We went on vacation and were staying at a hotel. She asked me to grab something from the car, but the hotel room key was on her phone. So, she handed it to me. That's when my insecurities got the best of me, and I snooped while walking to the car. That's when I saw it, and honestly, I felt nauseous. DMs from Jake. Not just old ones. Recent. Some unanswered, but some she did reply to. Messages about how she couldn't stand being apart from him. How it killed her to block him. How she missed talking to him. How she wanted to see him again. And then the part that really broke me, how she had developed feelings for him but was scared to leave me because then it wouldn't be Jake and OP. It would just be Jake. She talked about how she didn't want to lose both of us. She had even seen him behind my back. When she said she was going to the gym, she was going to his place. I came back to the room and didn't say anything. I laid in bed, numb. She eventually got up to take a shower, and while she was in there, she texted me asking if I went through her phone. At first, I lied. But then she said when she opened Instagram, it was still on her DMs with Jake, something she didn't leave open. So, I admitted it. I told her I read everything and couldn't believe she lied to me again. Her response: "You weren't supposed to see that." I completely lost it. She tried playing the victim card, telling me I broke her trust by going through her phone and that I wasn't supposed to read what she told Jake. Like I was the bad guy in this situation. That was it for me. I didn't ask for explanations. I didn't want to hear any more lies. I shut down completely. I stopped texting her and only spoke when necessary for the rest of the trip. We had driven 6 hours from our hometown to visit some friends, so I couldn't just leave. We acted normal in front of our friends until it was time to go. The 6-hour drive home. Complete silence. I drove most of the way and didn't say a word. When I dropped her off at her place, she tried to talk to me, even tried to kiss me goodbye. I pushed her away and asked her to get out of the car. Later that night, I texted her that I was done. I didn't want to talk anymore. She tried to explain, but at that point, there was nothing left to say. I gave her so many chances and she still chose to lie. Again, I don't know if anything sexual happened between them, and at this point I don't care anymore. What I do know is I spent too long being second in a relationship where I should have been enough. So yeah, I'm single now. It hurts, obviously. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can finally breathe again. Thanks to everyone who gave it to me straight in the comments all those months ago, but also to those who told me to give her another chance. It hurt, but I grew and matured from this. Comments. Commenter 1. You dodged a bullet. Someone who lies that repeatedly and then tries to gaslight you for catching them. You weren't supposed to see that, was never going to change. You wasted way too much energy on someone who was never fully yours to begin with. Reply. That's exactly what I keep telling myself. I wasted so much time and energy. I'm just glad I ended it sooner than later. Commenter 2. She was never going to put you first. She has had no respect for you. If she did, she would have cut contact with him a long time ago. Then she sees him behind your back. It might suck now, but you're way better off and you deserve better. Now they can be together. Commenter 3. Honestly, I feel for you, man. That gut feeling never lies. You gave her another chance and really tried, but she kept that connection behind your back. That's not love, that's emotional betrayal. Reply. I agree, it felt like she was chasing after attention instead of something genuine. Commenter 4. Been in your shoes. I'm actually happy I gave it a second chance. Because then I permanently knew. No second guessing, no what if. You'll never know why she made the choices she did, but it doesn't matter. It'll suck for a while and then it'll get better. Stories number 7. Aita for abandoning my wife at the altar. I, 28M, originally belonged to a very conservative and traditional country in South Asia, which I won't name but you guys can probably guess anyways. I came to the USA for further studies, and here, I met my husband, 28M. When I came out as gay to my parents, they weren't thrilled, but begrudgingly tolerated it. Recently, my dad contacted me, telling me that my grandpa's health isn't the best, and that he would like to see me get married before he dies. They've not told him that I'm gay or married, citing that he's old and can't take the shock of it. I initially resisted, but my husband told me that it was all gonna be a fake marriage anyways, and that he supports me 100% in this. Plus, my grandpa's gonna leave me a big inheritance. During the pre-wedding ceremonies, I always assumed that my wife knew that this was all a sham. However, during the actual wedding, I saw that they had brought real registry papers to sign in front of my grandpa. I realized that my parents hadn't told anyone, not even the bride's family, that this was all fake. I immediately freaked out and told everyone that I was gay and married, and took the earliest flight out of there. When I reached back, I heard from my mom that the bride's family insulted my grandpa a lot and that he fell sick due to that. She's calling me an asshole and selfish. Stories number 8. My brother-in-law ditched our flat renovation to go on holiday, so I destroyed the gift he was polishing for himself. A few years ago, my wife and I finally scraped together enough money to renovate the kitchen and bathroom in our first flat. It wasn't a small spend, we'd been saving for months. I wanted to hire an independent builder, someone with no emotional strings attached. But my wife insisted we use her brother-in-law's building company. He'll do a good job, and it keeps it in the family, she said. I caved. Mistake number 1. The first few days, everything was ripped out, kitchen gone, bathroom gone, we're basically camping in our own home. Then, out of nowhere, her brother-in-law disappears. Just ghosted us. No replies to messages, no updates, nothing. A few days later, we find out he'd gone on holiday. For 2 weeks. Without a single word of warning, so now our flat is unlivable, no kitchen, no bathroom. We had to couch surf with friends for almost 2 weeks. Awesome. When he finally returns, the work resumes, but barely. He's showing up for maybe an hour or 2 a day, clearly juggling other jobs. We're about 5 weeks into a 2 to 3 week max job and barely any progress has been made. The place still looks like a bomb site. Now, here's the petty part. We had this freestanding IKEA butcher's block in the kitchen, nothing fancy, but a decent solid wood surface I had used for years. He'd asked me if he could have it once the new kitchen went in, since it wouldn't be needed anymore. I said sure, figuring the work would be done soon and we'd be rid of it anyway. Well, I came home one day to see the butcher's block had been perfectly sanded down, oiled, polished, it looked brand new. He had clearly spent days working on this thing. Meanwhile, my kitchen was still a gutted shell, the bathroom half installed. I snapped. I dragged the thing outside, took a hammer to it and smashed it to bits straight into the wheelie bin. The next day he came in and noticed, didn't say a word, just looked kind of confused and disappointed. I didn't say a word either. The job took another 4 weeks to finish. Learned not to use family in the future for stuff like this and glad he didn't get the new butcher's block. We have never spoken about the butcher's block since. Stories number 9. My 35F husband, 37M, said that if I want stability in our life, I have to make it happen. I did, and now things are worse than ever. Help. To sum up, my husband and I have been married 10 years. We have a good marriage and have never faced any truly difficult times. It'll be difficult to explain everything that goes into this, but I'm happy to expound in the comments. Basically, the last decade has largely been focused on achieving financial independence. I had never been a very business-oriented person until I met my husband. He is extremely entrepreneurial and his passion for it is catching. We have run our own businesses together and separately throughout our marriage. The goal has always been to make enough money on location-independent businesses we can live freely. Not necessarily retire, but have more freedom. Because of his encouragement, I am now on a career path that could easily result in that. In 10 years, we have moved 25 times, all because better opportunities have presented themselves or current opportunities have dried up. We're now facing number 26 with number 27 not far away because number 26 doesn't look like that good of a prospect. Without giving away details, my business fluctuates greatly. I've had months where I pull in mid-5 figures and long stretches of a few hundred. My career outside of this is food service with a very definite wage ceiling. My husband's career is professional and he can easily find a 6-figure salary position. His current online business currently brings in low 4 figures. We have always relied on his going back to work when money runs low. He's in high demand, can practically snap his fingers and get a job. I cannot. Here's the conflict, and where I'll try to eliminate as much of my bias as possible. My husband is completely burned out. He physically and emotionally can't deal with the stress of going to work right now. He has supported me through the last couple years when my income has been low. I've always been aware of my financial contribution and make up for it by carrying the grand majority of the household chores. Even when I was working 60+ hours as a manager, and pulling in half his wage. But as our savings are dwindling, it's looking more and more like I'll have to get a job. That means pushing my business to the back burner, working a physically demanding job, all for a quarter of the pay he could get. I'm not one to spend money. We didn't have a wedding. We bought my wedding band 3 years after we got married. I cut my own hair. I work from home in sweatpants. It's not as though I've forced him to work jobs he hates in order to provide me with an extravagant lifestyle. I have worked shit jobs to help provide for us in the past, and even when my business isn't earning a ton, I still put in 50+ hours a week. I'm craving stability. Not permanence, just the feeling that I can unpack our boxes and not feel like I should save them in a closet knowing in 6 to 9 months I'll need them again. We've been child-free for years, but the last couple years the topic has been coming up more and more. Yet I feel it's impossible to even discuss the idea of starting a family in the face of such uncertainty. I miss my cats, they're living with my parents overseas. I want a fish tank and a place to hang pictures. He says, if you want those things, then make them happen. Which, fair enough. I completely agree with. I don't want to rely on him to provide the life I want, however it leaves me feeling a combination of emotions I can't really put a word to. I find myself going through mental exercises of, what would I do in this situation if I were single? How would I support myself? And I start to feel resentful. I'm not single. I'm married. And not only that, I'm not sure I can make enough money to support us. I desperately want him to find what it is he's meant to do. I don't care about the money or the dreams of financial independence if it means he's miserable trying to get there. He's been trying to work out which direction to change to for the past year and has yet to come up with anything solid. I know it's all about give and take, but I can't help but feel. I don't know. I don't have the words. And I'm at a complete loss as to how we resolve this. By the way, we have talked about all of this about 1,957 times already. There is nothing written here he hasn't heard before. TLDR, husband has always been the primary earner with well-paying jobs, but has experienced serious burnout. As we're eating into our savings, it looks like I'll have to put my business on hold and go back to work. Our discussions about steps forward have left me feeling resentful about our roles in the relationship. Am I being a spoiled brat about it all? Edit, I appreciate all the comments and opinions. This got a lot more response than I expected. Just a few things. It's difficult to sum up an entire life in a few hundred words. The moves have been for varied and obviously with 25 of them, multiple reasons. Some were because my husband was offered a good job. Others were to be nearer family. I've been pursing my side business for the last 3.5 years. The 7 prior to that I was in full-time employment, sometimes working a full-time job while also helping to run our own business. He has not financially supported me for 10 years. I'm not sure where people got MLM from, but I'm in a creative field. As I said, I don't want to reveal details, but I create products and then sell them online. We are not scam artists, nor do we have to leave town because people are catching on to our pyramid scheme, lol. As far as financials go, again, it's impossible to sum up 10 years of income. But we go through feast and famine periods, times when money is flowing in and times when we live off what we've earned. We never live outside our means, and when money is good, we put thousands a month away to prepare for the down times. It's not a typical way of living, so I understand it's not easily relatable. Sum of comments. Commenter. It sounds like he has finally burnt out from being the one in the relationship to be the financial rock. That is exhausting after a while. It's great that it has allowed you the freedom to try your hand at myriad other things, but it put a lot of pressure on him. It looks like I'll have to put my business on hold and go back to work. That is a very telling statement. Your business hasn't provided the work that you need to contribute equally. His has. It looks like it's time for you to step up and do the work and not the business, for now. I think you need to just suck it up and work for now and get him into counseling. Then, you two really need to sit down and figure out a different way to live. You've tried this path for 10 years and it's not working. You need to figure out a way to have stability as a couple, that doesn't burn one or the other of you out. See a career counselor and a financial counselor. Reply, I readily hold my hands up and say I have a spoiled streak. I guess it would be a lot easier for me to accept going back to work if he had an idea, an inkling, of what his next steps would be. But maybe that's just it. His job right now is to get better. I clarifies again. I know it isn't clear in my original post, but it's not like I'm sitting around doing nothing all day. I easily put in more work on my business than he does on his plus take care of the domestic stuff. I'd like to think there is more to the balance of a relationship than financial contribution. And there have been times I have financially supported us, it hasn't always been one-sided. I work hard to try and change it, but I guess the reality is, it isn't changing right away. Commenter, so you both have entrepreneurial side businesses and full-time jobs. Plus moving every 3 to 6 months for the last 10 years. That would burn anybody out. I know financial independence is a dream, but it seems like if both put down roots, maybe for a specified time, like 4 years, and found stability, burnout wouldn't be a factor. Financially and emotionally, starting over takes a toll. Reply, we go back and forth when it comes to the full-time employment. Because of his high salary and short lifespan when working, it's been more like 6 months on, several months off, but there is always a side business. Always, LOL. Savings clarification. When I say savings are dwindling, there is a lump of money in the savings account that we never, ever touch and treat as the rock bottom. We never get close to that amount, so in my mind, what we have to live off in savings is running out. When we budget, we don't feel like we're doing well unless we're able to put money away at the end of the month. After 10 years of working, we are definitely not where either of us would like to be. That's not to say the experiences and ups and downs weren't worth it. I honestly don't think it's in my husband to buckle down with a 9-to-5 job and squirrel away money for retirement. I have always been happy to help him pursue his goals of running his own businesses because I have faith in him. It's clear after talking through this on here, we're at a fork in the road. Commenter, your husband is about to hit rock bottom and you're not far behind. That money was saved for emergencies. This situation is not that different than your husband being temporarily disabled. At the very least you need to consider touching it. Reply, I appreciate the way you put that. It makes it easier to lock onto in my mind, thank you. Commenter, it sounds like both of you, like a lot of people who don't much care for the 9 to 5 but do work hard when you find your inspiration, don't know how to plan for self-maintenance. So my question to you is, are both of you really using your time and enthusiasm wisely? Staying put for 2 years is absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. Making a plan to say get to X level of income, then investing in a place in South America and making that your 6-month home base where you go between looking for opportunities in your own country, is also an option. It would give you a solid place to paint the walls and unbox, and cut in expenses while you stay there. Reply, I relate to this completely. I'm completely guilty of not building in time to recover and relax. In fact, over Christmas was the first time I've taken away from my work in 3 years. I believe part of my resentment is misguided toward my husband, our situation, because I poured so much of myself into grabbing onto success. When it hasn't worked out, I feel like 1, a failure, and 2, like I could have done more. Your last point has been something I've suggested over the last year, as a compromise of sorts, so it's interesting to read someone suggest it, smiley face. Thank you. Update post 1. I'm writing partly to sort all this out in my head and partly for outside perspectives. I don't even know what to think anymore. Again, I'm happy to explain any details that need fleshing out if it helps. I'll try to be concise, and I truly appreciate you reading. 9 months ago, I posted asking for help about my frustration with going back to work after my husband burned out in his career, previous post in my history. For the sake of anonymity, I tried to be vague with the details, and many thought our work was on the dodgy side. I don't care about keeping it anonymous, all these factors are relevant. I'm an author, I self-published books and made a decent living doing it for several years. My husband is a software developer and mainly buys existing online companies, and fixes them up to sell. When that's not working, he tries to work a normal 9 to 5, but typically lasts no more than 6 months. His last attempt was 1 day. My career before this was in the food industry, which means crap pay, long hours and very sore feet. I got a job that pays 95% of the bills, the rest is covered by savings. Yeah, I'd rather be working for myself, but I like it. I'm good at it. It's the first time I actually enjoy going to work for the last few months. I've been slowly changing and it feels like my husband and I are drifting apart. At first I thought it was a natural phase, things will definitely feel different compared to working under the same roof all day and night. Now I don't know from the previous thread. He says, if you want those things, then make them happen. Which, fair enough. I completely agree with. I don't want to rely on him to provide the life I want, however it leaves me feeling a combination of emotions I can't really put a word to. I find myself going through mental exercises of, what would I do in this situation if I were single? How would I support myself? And I start to feel resentful. I'm not single. I'm married. And not only that, I'm not sure I can make enough money to support us. I am making enough money to support us and it feels good. It's given me confidence in a way I haven't had before. But it's also made something glaringly obvious in our relationship. We disagree on just about everything and we have very little in common. I'm happy to work on my writing on the side while I work. He thinks I've given up on our dream and have settled for a world, the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday world, he is loath to spend time in. He sold his business and is still figuring out what he wants to do next. I want to buy a flat in the city. He wants to move to the country, or use our savings to travel or live remotely. I want to settle for a while and make friends. He thinks there's plenty of time for that in the future. I want to make our home cozy and put up decorations like photos and artwork. While he likes it, he thinks of it all as just pointless stuff we shouldn't waste money on. I could go on, but you get it. It feels like literally everything I like, he hates. I've also realized that most of the moves, most of the big decisions were things I went along with. I'm not saying he bullied me or anything, just that I didn't feel too strongly one way or the other, so tended to go with what he wanted. Of course we talked about it, but it rarely was me pulling in the bulk of the income, so I didn't feel like I had much of a say. Now I feel strongly about a life direction and have the ability to make it happen, and I feel guilty. He says I've changed, that he's the same as he's been, wants the same things he's always wanted. This is me altering the situation, which I agree with. But it's not like it's this massive bait and switch plan. Our entire marriage I've talked about settling down. I'm rambling, here's the way I see it. We both love each other and genuinely want to make the other happy, which is why over 10 years, we've both compromised on choices that go against what we individually want. He goes to work for a little while so I can have a semi-stable home. I bounce around the world with him so he can discover himself and his career. But our tolerance for these periods have become too short to manage. He physically can't work for another person. I want to scream when I think about packing up my stuff and starting over again. Have we just spent so much of our marriage being distracted by the exciting newness of moving and pushing for financial independence, we didn't notice how little we have in common otherwise? I can't help but feel like this is on me, not my fault, per se, but on my shoulders. I'm the one rocking the status quo, and if I want things to balance out, it's up to me to adjust my expectations. TLDR, things in my marriage have shifted drastically since I started working again. For years, my husband said that if I want stability in our life, I have to make it happen. I did. And now things are worse than ever. Sum of comments. Commenter, these seem like fundamental incompatibilities. Reply, they really do, don't they? Commenter, they do, love. This is a really unconventional way to look at it, but if you met your husband now as a new relationship, would you be excited about the guy? Interested? Would he make you laugh and make your coffee just the way you like it? I'm not saying we all should hold our partners to the standards of the honeymoon stage of a relationship, but we should be in a relationship where we at least are attracted to each other and have basic values and preferences that are compatible. Edit, P.S. I think it's really cool that you have a job that you enjoy and you are a writer. Reply, thank you, smiley face. I consider myself incredibly lucky to have both. I've often posed your question to myself, would we get together now as a new relationship? I think I'd still adore his passions and perspective on life, they're intoxicating. He's a sweet guy, always looking out for me and remembers little things I like. He has a habit of giving me a kiss when he leaves the room, even if he's just going away for a half hour. Obviously, I could go on. I really think we need to go talk to someone professionally. Thank you for reading Hug. To a longer comment. Before I get lost in my own selfish thoughts, I want to wish you luck with your businesses. It's not easy, and I have loads of love for people who hustle for their passion, smiley face. The friends and roots things is a real sore point for me. Our whole marriage we've been firmly child-free. The last 2 years, we had a last blast of, are we actually sure we're sure, which threw up a lot of discussions about the future and what we envision. We're sure. No kids. But that means if I want a network of people near and around me, I have to work to make that happen. I have no family and his family is ambivalent about seeing each other. All my friends have become acquaintances because of the moving. I see this lonely life ahead of me with no one in it and that scares me. I just wish, and I know how ludicrous it sounds as I write it, but I just wish the normal life he could build with me would be enough for him. We could have an amazing, stable life full of traveling and friends and everything people dream of. But he sees getting a job as trading his life, his time, for money, and that's not a deal he wants to make. Thank you for your reply and I really do wish you luck. Update post 2. I was recently cleaning out my bookmarks and found this old throwaway and obviously the 2 posts I made with it. I'm not sure why now, but I feel compelled to write a follow-up. Maybe it'll give people the bravery to change, or at least an example of how sticking with what you know isn't always the best choice. An obviously very long story short, with the help of those posts and a lot of long nights of thinking, I left my husband. In fact, it took him going away for a long weekend to realize how much happier and at peace I felt without him around. At first the split was amicable, but looking back I think he was just waiting for me to come rushing back to him once I realized my mistake. When that didn't happen and he could see I was actually serious about building a new life for myself, a switch flipped. We only spoke when he needed something from me, and eventually that stopped too. Enough about him. I'm now 42, happier and healthier and more satisfied than I've been my whole life. I picked me, and that was the best choice I could have ever made. I lived alone for the first time, and my God, the peace of having my own space, unrivaled. I ended up staying in that apartment for 5 years, not a moving box in sight. I put art on the walls, I knew my neighbors. I made a home. I grew my career and went back to school. Made friends, built a little community. I've done a ton of therapy and realized that the abusive patterns my parents created in childhood were just repeating with my ex. I fell in love, a real love, a supportive love that encourages growth and security. I'm doing new work that helps people and is so much more than just chasing money. All of those things have created a life that's more rewarding than I ever thought possible for myself. I've gone through some really shitty times too, illness, cancer scares, deaths, loss, but I have no idea how I would have come out the other side without the community I'd built around me. Even something as simple as people at your local coffee shop recognizing you is a comfort after feeling adrift and alone for so long. Anyway, if I were to respond to myself from 7 years ago, this is what I would say: leave the loser. He doesn't care about you, never did. He only cares about what you can do for him, and now that you aren't serving him, well, just go. You are capable of doing difficult things, and you are worthy of the work it takes to accomplish them. Trust your abilities, trust your gut, it's been screaming at you for years now, honey. Life can be so much more than you've experienced, but you have to make it happen for yourself. TLDR, left my husband happier than ever. Edit, I'm surprised but happy this found so many people. I genuinely thought I was going to bookend this story and have it disappear into the ether. But whatever urge I had to write it, and whatever brought you to reading it, who knows? Maybe it was meant to. Thank you for all the messages and comments. I feel so grateful to have this perspective and experience. Stories number 10. For my birthday I plan to go to a driving range with some friends. The driving range in question allows 6 people to play in a bay, but 8 people can attend. As a result, I invited 4 of my closest friends and my girlfriend. While out with 2 of these friends I invited our other friend to tag along and explained that couldn't play. He was fine with this as he isn't a sporty type, but I didn't plan on inviting an 8th person as I'd feel bad explaining that they could come but wouldn't be able to play. However, when one of my friends I hardly speak to found out about the driving range, she got one of my friends invited to message me saying she doesn't mind not playing. I don't talk to this friend often. The last time we spoke was her asking me for car help, then getting annoyed when I wouldn't get ready at 10 p.m. to come try to sort an issue with her car when I'm not a mechanic and was working the next day. Anytime we are out she feels entitled to an invite and will message us privately asking why she wasn't invited. She has even messaged me when I've been out with family asking who I was with and told me she was going to argue with me if I had said some of our friends. Stories number 11. Aita for telling husband he can leave me and our newborn and it wouldn't impact our lives. My husband, 32M, and I, 29F, have been disagreeing lately about childcare for when I need to return to work full time. He wants to rely on his parents and my mom to watch our son, 3 months, and I want to enroll him in an infant program at a daycare. I do not want his parents to watch our son for many reasons, but the biggest being his parents aren't capable of watching a newborn for 9 hours and the fact that they refuse to follow the updated safety guidelines for prevention of SIDS. Every time I tell them updated information different from how they did it 30 years ago I get comments like, "My kids would be dead 100 times over nowadays with what I did," or, "You're letting these guidelines drive you crazy," because I don't want my son to suffocate due to a blanket or bumpers being in on his bassinet. To put it in perspective, my in-laws have issues with their other DL as well due to how they treat people around them. I could go on about the issues the in-laws and I have had in the past, but I don't want this post to be so long. Let's just say his parents purposely cross boundaries at the expense of other to get what they want. Anyways, the argument between my husband and I got very heated the other night as I was preparing my son's bath on the kitchen counter. As I was finished filling it with water, my husband was so upset with our disagreement that he took the bath and flipped it over, resulting in water being all over our kitchen and dining room hardwood floors and table. I told his to get the F out of the house and to not come near me or our son. I was baby wearing him at the time. He kept trying to come near me to the point I left through the back door with my son and tried to get in my car to drive away, but my husband stood behind my car so I couldn't leave, so I just walked away from the house instead so I could feel safe with our son. Eventually I needed to come back in order to feed our son a bottle. My husband was attempting to clean up the gallons of water he spilled on the floor and all over the documents I had on the table, floors, basement ceiling, and documents ended up damaged. He said he would finish cleaning up and then leave the house. He left around midnight and didn't come back until 8 p.m. the next day. Sadly, this isn't the first time my husband has acted out of anger. While I was pregnant, he punched a hole in our hallway and then grabbed me, resulting in my shift being ripped. He also has knocked my possessions off countertops, resulting in things I cannot replace being broken. He always apologizes and says he will do better, but I no longer have hope for him. When he came back the other night, we continued the conversation about childcare and somehow got on the topic of another future baby. Which I said I potentially did not want another child due to the traumatic birth of our son. I'm less than 3 months postpartum during this conversation. My husband then threatened to divorce me and go have a baby with someone else because his son will not be an only child. I flat out told him to file the paperwork without any emotion. I told him it wouldn't make a difference if he was here or not, considering he left for almost 24 hours without any communication and I can manage it all on my own. Do I want our son to have divorced parents? No, I don't, but I also don't want him to grow up around a father who acts out of anger and aggression. I just feel like I've been through enough with him, and for him to now threaten divorce over childcare and potentially not having another baby is absurd in my mind. I know during our arguments I can say nasty things, but I never threaten divorce. Now a few days later we are trying to continue talking about childcare, but my trust for him and his parents is almost non-existent due to his actions and words. I'm starting to feel like I am the a-hole because I said that him leaving wouldn't make a difference. Like deep down I do not want him to leave. But then I think about how mid-typing this I had to stop to go take out the garbage. It's 5 a.m. before collection, even though he said he did it before he went to bed. I just sometimes think he purposely is incompetent, so I just do everything. He says I won't have to coordinate with our parents on who's watching our son when during the week, and he would do it. But that won't happen and I will have to end up doing it. I just don't need the extra stress and rather have something consistent. I just don't know what to do or if I am an a-hole for not wanting this life as it is right now for our son. Any advice or words of wisdom are welcome. Stories number 12. I 22F went into my fiancé's 29M office that is off limits. He is now giving me the silent treatment. What can I do to fix this? My fiancé 29M and I 22F live together in an apartment with 3 bedrooms, one of which he converted into an office before I moved in. When we first started dating and I came over, he made it extremely clear that room was completely off limits for me. He mostly works in the actual office, but sometimes he can handle everything at home and thus will work out of his home office, which includes video calls, and it prevents me interrupting. The thing is that he also goes in after work and on the weekends, during which I'm still not even allowed to knock. When I did, he would get upset and say he just needs alone time sometimes. I can understand needing alone time. I'm an introvert myself, but I love him and that includes spending time with him, so it does bother me sometimes. 6 months ago I found out I was pregnant. We were together for 5 years already and I was planning to move in and out him anyways, so we pulled the trigger and he proposed soon after. Sadly, we found out it's a high-risk pregnancy and I dropped out of college because I couldn't do very much anymore. I am now mostly handling the chores and cooking for us since I feel capable, and he works a lot, like 10-hour days sometimes. It's not all on me. His sister, who is my BSF and a 23F, I actually met him through her, is over a lot to help too. Okay, finally to my question. So this past Sunday he was in his office a lot more than usual and we barely saw each other outside of him coming out to eat. By the evening I was honestly pretty annoyed. I had asked to watch a movie together and he agreed, but he just stayed in the office till pretty late, and at that point I was so tired and pretty upset, so I started knocking on the door, to which he cracked the door open and raised his voice saying that I startled him and that I know it's his alone time. I got so frustrated I started crying and he consoled me saying he only had a half day on that Monday and we could watch the movie Monday night. So on Monday I was exited and sleep helped a lot. I was in a better mood and prepared some movie snacks, but that night he went to his office and was in there till it again was too late to watch the movie, so I was really pissed and started knocking again, to which he came out angrier and said we just talked about this yesterday and that I should know better than to knock. Instead of listening I ended up trying to push past him, which even though he is significantly bigger, stronger than me, he clearly didn't expect that, and I managed to push in. I have always been kind of suspicious of his office, honestly. When I asked, he always insists he's just playing video games or doing some other that help him decompress. Some part of me expected something big, but it just looked like normal home office. Only interesting thing was on the computer, where I saw what seemed to be security cameras in the apartment. I know of 2 at the front door and the hallway, but there seemed to be a lot more, which honestly I don't mind. I assume it was just for like protection or something, but I didn't get the time to ask. He was furious, like the most mad I've seen anyone. I was mostly very confused, but I didn't get time to look closer or anything. He pushed me out of the office and closed the door behind us. He then started shouting about how I was abusive by crossing his boundaries and how he could never trust me again. I just started bawling, but I couldn't even form a sentence and went to the bedroom. I kinda thought he would follow me, but I assumed he just went back in the office and he never joined me in bed that night. So all of yesterday and this morning he completely just ignored me and didn't even eat the food I made. At first I didn't mind because I was angry too, but now I want us back to normal. I feel extremely guilty and I know I crossed a line, he said very clearly and all over a movie, and I'm now scared I ruined our relationship and our baby's future over something so stupid. Anna told me I shouldn't have done it, even though she does get it could be frustrating sometimes since her partner spends a lot of time at the gym, so she gets the desire for more quality time day to day, and that I could have asked her to come over and watch the movie. He's at work right now and I'm planning to try to talk to him tonight about this. I know I fucked up, but I want to know how badly. I know this is extremely long, but I listen to Reddit stories and I hate when all the info isn't there. TLDR, I was frustrated because my fiancé ignored me when we were planning to watch a movie, so I barged into his office that's off limits and now he's not talking to me. Edit. I fucked up the timeline a bit. I was 18 when we started dating. Edit 2. Hello everyone, I'm alive and well, don't worry. I fell asleep from the stress and his sister just told me that he is crashing at her place since he got a bit drunk and her apartment was closer. That's pretty normal for us. I do it too sometimes since neither of us are much fun to be around when drunk. I'm thinking about checking his office in a few hours when I'm sure he's sleeping, since I'm worried the cameras are streaming to his phone and he'll see me, so any advice could help. Thank you all for opening my eyes. I was genuinely convinced I was completely in the wrong. Edit 3 mini update. Hello everyone, I did it. I looked in the office. He was sleeping off being drunk at his sister, so he wasn't going to check his phone in case the cameras are connected to his phone and he can check them remotely. Okay, so it's bad. I was able to log in since he is extremely forgetful and uses the same password for everything, and he doesn't know I know it after I accidentally saw him sign into something a year or so ago. I was expecting porn or even extremely illegal forms of porn, and you guys weren't wrong. He has multiple cameras in every room of the house including the bathroom and bedroom. He also has an incredible amount of saved videos that clearly were taken from the camera footage, mostly of me naked and us doing certain things. I looked a bit further and it seems he has a lot of messaging apps and stuff where he's distributed videos and has been talking to someone about setting up a way for him to stream our cameras to their Discord server, but it doesn't seem like he's set that up yet, at least. I couldn't get myself to look at very many videos, but at least one seems to be when I was asleep, and I'm a very deep sleeper, so he was able to do stuff while I was completely unaware. I am terrified. I absolutely never expected this and I feel incredibly violated. I genuinely thought that the cameras were for protection since he is very well off and he has a lot of very expensive stuff in the apartment. I am going to pack up essentials and leave for my aunt. She lives a bus ride away and is basically the only family I'm close enough with to stay there longer than a day. I sent her a message, but it's late at night and she likely won't see it before I arrive early morning. I was able to get a good amount of evidence on my phone that's not connected to any other device we have, and will be talking to my aunt about going to the police together because I really need support right now. For anyone wondering about his job, he works for his dad and it's not a government job or even one where he needs to keep stuff confidential or anything. It's just that he didn't want me interrupting him talking to his coworkers on call. Outside of when he was working, we would talk about his work sometimes, so he would voluntarily share information about his job. I know I'm dancing around it, but it's genuinely just for confidentiality reasons, and the last thing I want is for him to see this post and be able to tell for sure it's about him. Lastly, I'm probably going to do an official update in a few days when I see how this played out, but till then I think I got all the advice I need. Thank you all so much. I know I've said it a million times, but genuinely thank you for opening my eyes and helping me give my baby a better life. Stories number 13. I used to stalk the woman my husband cheated on me with, and now I feel sorry for her. I never thought I'd be that wife. The one secretly watching another woman's life through her Instagram stories, heart thudding when her face popped up on my screen, wondering how much of my marriage she had in her hands. But I was. When I found out my husband cheated on me, it wasn't with some random one-night stand. It was with someone he kept talking to, laughing with, texting during dinner. Someone I had met once, briefly, at his office holiday party. Let's call her M. I remember thinking she was pretty, but not threatening. She had a baby face and wore oversized sweaters like she was hiding from the world. I never thought she'd become a wound I couldn't stop picking. After I found out, I didn't confront her. I didn't blow up her inbox or send nasty messages. Instead, I followed her. Quietly. Obsessively. I watched her post brunches and gym selfies and blurry sunsets with Taylor Swift lyrics. I zoomed in on backgrounds, looking for clues. Was he with her when she posted this? Is that his jacket in the corner? Every time she smiled in a selfie, it felt like a slap. Like she had taken something from me and was parading around untouched. And then something strange happened. I watched her go quiet for a while. Then her posts started changing. No more glittery quotes. Her face looked different, thinner, tired. She posted a long caption once about unlearning toxic patterns and trying to forgive herself. And suddenly, she didn't feel like the enemy anymore. She looked like a girl who got caught in something she wasn't ready for. And maybe she was part of the damage, but she also looked wrecked. I realized something. While I was trying to make sense of my pain, she was probably doing the same. My husband had a choice. He chose. So did she, yes, but he had vows. And I was sitting there resenting a stranger more than the man who lied to my face. So I stopped watching her. I unfollowed. I muted her name in my head. And then, I confronted him. Really confronted. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic, just painfully honest. And then I left. I used to think hating the other woman would help me heal. It didn't. What helped was remembering that she wasn't the one who promised me forever. Stories number 14. I am not really human anymore, due to permanent brain damage. I had a serious head injury in 2009, it killed me, obviously I was brought back, lots of freaky stuff happened at the time, as one would expect from serious permanent brain damage. I was in hospital for 3 days, not expected to leave alive, but I did. I have permanent amnesia. I lost every personal memory I had, I don't even remember my mother's face, hell I didn't recognize my own face. Anything before 2009 is sketchy at best. It took 5 years to come to terms with the new reality, and the realization that I had lost the ability to feel fear due to my amygdala being permanently damaged. I had lost the emotional connection with my now ex-wife. Losing an emotion has left me feeling that I am no longer human. A person who can't feel fear is a monster. There are less limits on doing anything, which is not as good as it sounds. Physically I am human, but losing that emotion has made the other emotions I have left heightened. Love is extreme, but so is anger. I take great efforts to avoid hate, because I don't know how I could stop it. Anger is almost impossibly to come down from. When I am angry I see red, I can hear the blood rushing in my ears, I feel like I am going to explode, and it takes an extreme effort to suppress that rage. I will usually sit quietly gripping a desk, or squeezing my fists, until I can get to a level of control. I hide this rage, no one really knows how volatile I can be. I don't want people to be afraid of me, but they would be if they knew. Stories number 15. Aita for not letting my dad walk me down the aisle after he cheated on my mom. I'm getting married in a few months. Planning has been mostly smooth, except for one really emotional decision I made. I told my dad he won't be walking me down the aisle. And now it feels like half the family thinks I've declared war. Some context, my parents were married for over 25 years. When I was 22, my dad cheated on my mom with a woman from his office, someone only a few years older than me. He didn't confess. My mom found out after seeing some sketchy messages on the iPad they shared. Everything blew up. Divorce, a messy fallout, my mom was devastated. She'd been a stay-at-home mom most of their marriage and had to start over in her 50s. I was crushed. My dad had always been my hero growing up, the classic hard-working, dependable, dad joke kind of guy. But after what he did, I saw a whole new side of him. He tried to justify it by saying the marriage had been emotionally over for years and that he just wanted to be happy. That hurt more than the cheating. He seemed so detached from the pain he caused. Even after the divorce, he moved on quickly, started a new life with his girlfriend, and acted like everything was normal. Meanwhile, I watched my mom spiral for years, trying to rebuild. I was there for her. She leaned on me a lot. And now, years later, she's stronger, happy, even, but that time left a permanent mark. So when I started planning my wedding, I knew immediately I didn't want my dad walking me down the aisle. It felt wrong. That role, in my mind, should be held by someone who protected our family, not someone who blew it up. I love my dad, but I haven't fully forgiven him. I'm polite when we see each other, and I included him in the wedding as a guest, but I asked my older brother to walk me instead. He was my rock through all of it. When I told my dad, he was shocked. He said he was hurt, that it was always his dream to give me away, that I was punishing him for something in the past. He said he's still my father and nothing changes that. Now my stepmom, the woman he cheated with, is furious. She told me I'm being cruel and disrespectful and trying to rewrite history. A few cousins have said I should let it go, that it was years ago and he's still my dad. Even my grandma said she was disappointed in me. But my mom? She cried when I told her about my decision. Not because she was happy he's excluded, but because she felt seen. She told me she didn't expect anything, but knowing I remembered what she went through meant everything. So here I am, wondering if I'm holding a grudge or if I'm just setting a boundary. I don't want to make my wedding about old wounds. But I also can't pretend those wounds don't exist. Aita. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your stepmother has the nerves to call you cruel. Ignore that woman and do what brings you peace. Your father is a asshole totally nta. Reply, yes, seeing how my mother struggled all this years makes me wanna slap her really hard that her soul leaves her body. Commenter 2, I'm going to hell for this, but nta you're really within your right to make that choice and it's not cruel, it's about setting boundaries for your own peace of mind. You should focus on what feels right for you and maybe have a heartfelt conversation with your dad to explain why it matters to you without reopening old wounds. Reply, not just mine but for the peace of mind of my mother. Commenter 3, why does the affair partner think she gets to opine? She should be shutting up and keeping her head down around the family. Commenter 4, just ask him why would you have someone who doesn't respect the sanctity of marriage to give you away. And that he should be happy you're even inviting him and his wife to your wedding. Since they both don't respect or honor wedding and think of it as a joke. Update. Hi again, I honestly didn't expect this post to get much attention but I've read through the responses. Thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts and I wanted to give a quick update. You could see the original post on my profile, the wedding is still about few months away and yeah, things have escalated. After I told my dad that I didn't want him to walk me down the aisle, he acted calm at first. He said he was hurt but respected my decision. That lasted about a day. Then he started texting me passive-aggressively. Stuff like hope you enjoy your big day with people who didn't raise you and guess your mom's still feeding you her version of things. I didn't respond. He called me selfish and said I was punishing him for something that had nothing to do with our relationship. I told him it had everything to do with how I saw trust and family and that this moment was about me feeling safe and supported, not about his image or closure. The real kicker came when my aunt, his sister, messaged me basically guilt-tripping me to let him have this one moment. She said I was going to humiliate him in front of everyone. That word humiliate really stuck with me. Because that's how this is being framed now. Not as me setting a boundary but as me trying to publicly shame him. And it's not true. I didn't post anything about it, I didn't tell anyone but immediate family. It was him who told the extended family and started spinning it into a pity party. My mom has stayed out of it, which I appreciate. She just keeps telling me to do what feels right and not let the drama steal this moment. At this point, I'm honestly considering asking him not to come at all. Not out of spite, just because I don't know if I can handle the emotional weight of having him there, especially if he's going to sulk or make it about himself. I hate that this is overshadowing everything. I was so excited about the wedding and now I feel like I'm managing emotional landmines every day. I still don't feel bad for not letting him walk me down the aisle. I just wish it didn't have to turn into this whole mess. Anyway, that's where things stand for now. I'll post a final update after the wedding assuming I survive the next 2 weeks of family politics. Thanks again to everyone who helped me think this through. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA your father is being ridiculous. It's your wedding and your dog can give you away if you want. Don't let him, your step whore, or your aunt bully you. Uninvite them all if you wish. Quick question, if the wedding is months away, why only 2 weeks of family politics? Reply, there is a family gathering to happen in 2 weeks, I want to face them all. Commenter 2, your father disrespected your mother by cheating on her after long years of marriage, ask him if it was worth it, you're totally NTA. I am again saying this, don't feel guilty, hope you a happy marriage. Reply, thank you. I just want to clear my name. I feel like they're gaslighting me. Commenter 3, NTA. Just tell him that he's shown that he doesn't respect wedding vows, so why should he expect to have such an important part in your wedding? And tell that to anyone else who says something about it. Commenter 4, NTA. I would tell him that if he doesn't stop publicly defaming you, he will earn his spot at the wedding on his couch at home. I would say this behavior is exactly why I made the decision in the first place. Stories number 16. Manager said, no personal touches in the emails, so I took out every greeting and sign off. I work in an IT support team and we handle a lot of tickets from our coworkers in other departments. My manager is usually chill, but one day she decided she didn't like how casual my email sounded. She said, no personal touches, just get straight to the point. No hellos, no sign-offs. So I did exactly that. The next morning, she got CC'd on a couple of my emails to HR and our finance team, reset password. Link attached. Invoice attached. No further action required. No, hi, no, thanks, nothing. I didn't even use punctuation in the last line because I figured, hey, she said no personal touches. After about a week, she told me my emails sounded cold and abrupt and that I should maybe add a greeting. I just smiled and said, I thought you didn't want personal touches. Now I just send emails the normal way again. Guess she realized there's a balance between professional and just plain robotic. Stories number 17. My 27F. husbands, 27M, first love, 28F, contacted him wanting to apologize and reconnect. Should I be concerned? I, 27F, have been with my husband, 27M, for almost 8 years, married for 3. Let's call him Liam, fake name. Prior to our relationship, Liam was with Danielle, 28F, also fake name. Liam and Danielle met in high school and were extremely close friends before they decided to start dating. They dated from the end of their senior year of high school to the end of their freshman year of college. They were a lot of firsts for each other, including sex for the first time. According to Liam, Danielle was the first girl he was ever truly in love with. He did anything for her, including driving over 2 hours to and from his college to her college every weekend their freshman year. They went to schools in different states, so they could spend time together. Things started to change for them during the later parts of their freshman year of college after Danielle got heavily involved with a religious group on her campus. According to Liam, she got very manipulative and emotionally abusive. She had these new ideas in her head of who she was wanting him to be and wanting to save him. He tried going to church with her and doing the things she wanted him to do, but it eventually led to him becoming confused, upset, and ultimately resentful, which led to them ending things in a crash and burn type way. Fast forward several months after they break up, Liam meets me. We started casually dating at first since he still had trauma and large amounts of trust issues that remained from his relationship with Danielle. After about 5-ish months, he felt like he was ready for something serious again. 2 years later, we're engaged. Another year goes by, we're married. Almost 3 years later, we're here today. Throughout all of this time, Liam has not heard from Danielle once. Also during this time, Danielle has met someone new, gotten married as well, and currently has a young child. Flash to a week and a half ago. Liam and I just moved to a new house closer to our hometowns and posted about the move on social media. After seeing the post, Danielle decides to message Liam congratulating us on the new place and hoping that all is well. Nothing too crazy, but not something that he was expecting. They begin briefly conversing about house things, moving, renovations, etc. Liam tells me she reached out to him, and I find this a bit odd, but nothing to worry about. A couple of days later, Liam sits me down to ask me something and for me to not freak out. I, of course, begin freaking out. Apparently, Danielle had continued to message him after their brief conversation and eventually sent him a long post letting him know that there are some things she wants to get out in the open, wants to deeply apologize for the way she treated him towards the end of the relationship, and wants to do all of this in person with him. He asks me my opinion on this, and I'm definitely concerned as to why after all this time this is something she feels the need to do, and also why the need for this to be in person. After discussing this with a friend who had a similar thing happen to her and afterwards the ex left them alone, I ultimately agreed, hoping that the same scenario would play out with us. Boy, was I wrong. Liam and Danielle decide to meet at a coffee shop in a town about halfway between where we live and where she and her husband live. For Liam, it was about an hour drive. This meeting took place this past Saturday. At first, I asked to come with and just sit in the car while they talked, since I anticipated it being a short but awkward conversation where she could express what she needed to and then he could leave and we could go do something afterwards. Liam convinced me I would end up being bored and he would feel bad leaving me alone for that time, so it was better for me to just stay back. He didn't think it would last very long, maybe an hour or so, and he would be home before I knew it. I ended up agreeing and he left early in the morning so he could meet her around 10. After letting me know once he got there and that he would keep me posted on when he would be heading back, I waited. After about an hour, I texted asking how it was going and he said it was fine and that he was just listening to what she had to say. Another hour goes by and I start feeling a bit concerned, as I would have thought they would be done by now. Another hour goes by and I'm full on irritated. I text him saying it's been 3 hours and ask when I should expect him back. He lets me know they're catching up and he would let me know. Another hour goes by. 4 hours in total and I'm mad. What was supposed to be a short apology conversation was turning into a full day thing. Finally, he lets me know he's heading home after 2 hours of them talking. I needed answers. When he finally got home, I asked what happened. He lets me know that Danielle did apologize for the way she treated him during their relationship. After that, they began catching each other up on their lives since it had been nearly 8 years since they last talked. It was a good, casual conversation and then she started breaking down crying. According to Liam, Danielle is at her wit's end and her marriage is considering divorcing her husband. She told Liam that her husband hasn't been the man she thought he would be and that they have lost all passion in their marriage. That it got harder after she had their baby and doesn't know what to do since she doesn't really like the idea of starting over and navigating as a single mom. Basically, she was confiding in him about all of the issues in her life and he sat and listened and talked with her. Liam said she really just needed someone to listen that wasn't involved in their circle. He felt bad for her and just wants to make sure she is okay. He then asked me how I would feel if they continued to be casual acquaintances. I told him I could maybe get to a point where I would be comfortable with that, but would need it to think about it. He made it seem like that was the end of what they discussed and we continued the rest of our day as normal. At the end of the day, we get in bed and are watching TV when I notice that he's getting quiet and distant. I ask what is wrong and he starts to tear up saying that there was more he needed to tell me about him and Danielle's conversation. I, immediately, get worried. In tears, he tells me that Danielle expressed to him that she still has feelings for him. Even though it's been years and they've both moved on, she still has parts of her heart set for him. That her husband isn't half the man he is. In some ways, I wasn't shocked to hear that, especially since she wanted to meet with him after all this time. However, what he said next did shock me. He told me that after talking with her, he realized that he also still has some unresolved feelings for her. All this time, he thought she hated him after they broke up when in reality she was just struggling with her religious trauma in college and took things out on him when she shouldn't. Everything was took out of context. I didn't know what to think. He was so hurt and torn apart after they broke up and it took me months to build his trust and hope back up in the beginning to allow him to see himself capable of love again. Now all these years later he says he still has a part of his heart for her. In many ways, I understand because first love will always hold a spot. But I'm also a bit hurt that my husband, the man I plan to spend the rest of my life with, still feels for his ex. After learning that she still has feelings for him, I told him I wasn't liking the idea of them still talking. That she could eventually start interpreting his kindness to her wrongly and see some sort of potential between them. That really she should be discussing her marital issues with her own husband and not him. He insists that she would never come between us and that Danielle herself even expressed that she respected the idea of marriage wholeheartedly and the last thing she would want to do is harm ours. He wants to be there for her because it seems like she doesn't really have anyone else to talk to about all of this. Last night, he was showing me TikToks on his phone when a text notification from Danielle popped up. I questioned him about it and he shrugged it off as nothing. Today, I asked if she was still texting him and he said she was, but he was trying to slowly cut her off. I expressed again how I don't think it's best for him to be talking to her and how she really should be going to a friend or family member to talk about her issues. I noticed he was still texting her throughout the evening tonight too. Should I be concerned about all of this? I don't want to come across as a wife who controls who her husband can or cannot talk to. I do trust my husband, but I don't really know Danielle. He insists she is true to her word and would never try anything, but how can I know for sure? My best friends think I should tell him to block her. I don't think he will because he feels bad for her. But I don't want her to continuing to reach out to him for validation and that eventually leading to her feelings towards him growing more. What do I do? Please help. TLDR, my husband's ex-girlfriend reached out to him after almost 8 years to apologize for the way she treated him. They spent time together catching up and she told him about how her own marriage is falling apart and doesn't really know what to do. She's been confiding in him for a few days now. Learned that there is also unresolved feelings on her end and my husband's end. Told my husband I didn't like the idea of her coming to him for validation, especially if she has feelings. He says she would never try anything. They are continuing to talk. Should I be concerned? Comments. Commenter 1. Tell your husband that his ex's failing marriage is her own problem. Unless you want your own marriage to fail too, you better stop this nonsense. Commenter 2. Danielle would never do that, she already did. Why confess her feelings to a married man? Why she even appear again? Commenter 3. So much this OP's husband seems to think that refers only to sex, but Danielle is already laying the groundwork for an affair whether she realizes it or not. The husband needs to cease all contact and frankly I'm shocked he didn't the moment she said she still had feelings for him. And then he says he feels similarly about her. Do you see where this is going? Picture him checking his phone for a text from you while hanging out with her. She says, "Your wife again, huh? Seems like she doesn't trust you." My husband did that too, which made me realize he's so controlling. Anytime you guys have a disagreement he can go to her to vent, she'll be super supportive and tell him he's right, you're just being a bitch. She'll remind him of their best memories and inside jokes. He's texting her throughout the evening. They are rekindling their relationship in front of your eyes. Commenter 4. This is such a red flag comment from the husband. Danielle would never try anything. Why isn't he saying he would never try anything? This should have been shut down immediately. Update. I want to thank everyone who saw my original post and left a comment or sent me a message. Although they may have been difficult for me to read through, it was something I ultimately needed to do. Anyways, here is the update. Liam, 27M, husband, fake name, has been at work all day so I wasn't able to talk to him much until he got home. I sat him down again and let him know that I needed to talk about him about his communication with Danielle, 28F, husband's ex, fake name. I told him that I wasn't happy and that I needed to know if he was still talking to Danielle today. He told me he was, but that he was to finally end things with her. For those of you, if not all of you, that suggested Danielle reached out to him because she wanted him for herself, you were correct. Liam called her today and she straight up asked him how happy he was with me and that if for even a second there were issues and wanted out that they could run away together. She wants to divorce her husband and be with him. I believe this admittance finally broke Liam's rose-colored glasses on the situation and opened him up to seeing what she was really doing. Trying to manipulate her way back to him and home wreck our marriage. He finally told her enough is enough and that he cannot talk to her anymore. That he did feel sorry for everything going on with her and her own marriage but for the sake of his own marriage and his love for me that he needs to stop being in touch with her. He realized that those unresolved feelings that he started to have for her after meeting with her this past Saturday were more like feelings of nostalgia for the times they spent together and the times they were happy. The way she spoke about him and his character made him feel good and gave him that ego boost, but after hearing her true intentions, he was able to remember the way she was before and why they broke up in the first place. I told him I wanted him to block her. I wanted no contact at all with her and he agreed. So he deleted all of their messages, blocked her number, and blocked all of her social media right in front of me. There will be no communication between them going forward. Again, thank you all so much for the help realizing what was happening and what needed to be done. I really appreciate it. Comments. Commenter 1. Yes, finally a good update. Thankfully he got his head out of his behind and realized what she was doing. Good luck to you in the future. Commenter 2. More like, got whacked in the face by her bluntly telling him she wanted him to leave his wife for her. Commenter 3. OP, that's great, but trust me when I say you have to inspect what you expect. Don't just blindly take his word for it. He could probably tell you were done if he didn't agree, so he took steps. All of those could be undone just as fast. Give it a day, maybe 2, and then without fanfare ask him for his phone. Tell him you just want to see for your own mental health that she is still blocked and there has been no communication because you don't believe she will go that easily. Don't let him say no or leave the room. Tell him to unlock it and let you see it. Check every single app he has on his phone that offers messaging, texts, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, every single app. Look at recently deleted folders. Also, you still need to contact her husband and alert him. Don't tell your husband you're going to. Just do it. He deserves to know. Her marriage may be a wreck, but cheaters say that all the time. You would want him to call you. If she is that miserable, he needs to know. Stories number 18. Wibta, if I didn't attend a family dinner because of my sister. Everything started back in January when my sister, 25F, moved back home after breaking up with her boyfriend. They had adopted a cat together and fought over who'd keep it. She got a loan to pay her ex for his half. But that ended up being pointless because between her job, her social life, and trying to find a place, she realized she couldn't care for the cat. We, my parents, younger siblings, and I, 23F, all asked her to please let us know before giving the cat back so we could say goodbye. She agreed. Well, she didn't. She waited until my parents and little sister were on a trip, I was at work, and only my brother was home. She just texted, "Hey, he is coming today to take the cat," and didn't even tell my brother, who was actually in the house. We were hurt. My brother especially, since he really bonded with the cat. We talked to her, and she didn't apologize. Just said, "It's my cat, my life, I do what I want." I told her that next time she should at least consider how her actions affect others. A few weeks later, Bad Bunny announced his Europe tour. We live in Spain. She was desperate to get tickets. I couldn't afford to buy one, but I lent her my Ticketmaster accounts. She was aiming for 2 tickets for her and her ex, again. But she ended up buying 4 due to nerves. When she told me, I asked if I could have one. I said I'd pay her on payday and even drive her to the concert. She said she'd think about it. People were offering double the price. Next day, she called and said she and her ex had fought and he wasn't going. She asked if I still wanted the ticket. I said yes, but I'd have to pay her on the first. She said okay. My friends warned me she might sell it anyway, but I defended her. I didn't think she'd do that to me. 2 weeks later, we went out to eat, me, her, and our mom. I brought up the ticket. She shook her head and said her ex paid her the day after we talked and she sold the others too, for 200 to 300 euros. I was stunned. I reminded her I was going to pay. She said, I know, but I wanted more money. That moment shattered me. She didn't even really say sorry, just sorry but, and excuses. I lost a lot of respect for her. It's been 2 weeks. No apology. I'm not even upset about the ticket anymore. What hurts is that she's my sister and showed no loyalty. I've done so much for her, picked her up late after she broke up her ex, helped her move, paid for stuff she couldn't afford, etc. Now, my mom and I were planning a summer dinner so I could introduce my boyfriend to the family. I said I didn't want my sister there. My mom said if she's not invited, she won't do the dinner. I said if she comes, then I won't. My boyfriend says we can just go and not engage, but I know my parents will be mad at me. My mom already said if it doesn't happen, it's my fault. Stories number 19. AIO for asking my boyfriend's mom to stop calling me the backup plan at dinner. My boyfriend, 26M, and I, 24F, have been dating for a little over a year. His mom never liked me, and she's made that weirdly clear. I try to be polite and not take things personally, but it's starting to wear me down. We were at his parents' house for dinner last weekend. Things were fine until his mom started reminiscing about his first real girlfriend, saying things like, she was so classy and put together, you know, not everyone has that natural polish. Then she smiled at me and added, but you're a solid backup plan. Some men just want simple, and that's okay too. I was stunned. I looked at my boyfriend, who just kind of awkwardly chuckled and didn't say anything. So I said, could you please not refer to me as a backup plan? She gave me this innocent look and said, oh honey, I'm just teasing. Don't be so sensitive. I quietly excused myself and left the table. My boyfriend later told me I overreacted, and that I shouldn't let her get under my skin like that. AIO for standing up for myself. Stories number 20. He kept hogging the laundry machines so I introduced him to the waiting game. We share the laundry in my apartment building, 4 washers, 4 dryers. It was a first come, first served situation, but there's an unspoken rule: do not leave your stuff sitting there for hours. If it's done and you're not back in a reasonable time, someone will gently move it so they can have access to the machines. Then comes basket guy. Every Saturday morning, he loads all his clothes into 3 washers at once and vanishes for hours. Not only does he leave wet clothes in the machines, but he also leaves his laundry baskets on top so no one can move his stuff without awkwardly putting it on the floor. We complained, left notes, and literally nothing changed. Last weekend, I arrived 10 minutes after his washers had stopped. He was nowhere in sight. I decided I have had enough. I emptied the washers, stacked his clothes on the folding table, and I waited. With a book. In a chair. Right next to the dryers. He came in, and 40 minutes later, with his usual smug-faced, everyone will wait for me vibe, and stopped dead when he saw me sitting there with his clothes folded like I was doing inventory. He mumbled something like, hey, I was gonna be right back. I smiled and said, of course, you always are. Then I put my clothes in the dryers, all 4 of them, and started them up. Not a single item of his made it into a machine. He stood there with his wet laundry and no baskets, because I had also moved those to the locked, lost and found closet next to the mailroom, which had a keyed entry. He didn't have access. He hasn't pulled the triple wash disappearing act since then. Stories number 21. Aita for secretly cheating on our vegetarian diet that my wife made our family do. I want to start by saying I, 38M, love my family and wife, 35F, and I have never been the type to do anything like this before. 12 months ago, my wife converted to a new religion, which included her giving up eating meat. The whole family, me and our 2 young boys, were supportive of this, and we held a vegetarian-only dinner that night as a little sign of support. Life continues for another 8 months basically unchanged. The boys and I eat meat, and my wife doesn't. However, things start to change around that 8 to 10 month marker, can't remember exactly. Basically, along with not eating meat, my wife now no longer wanted to be around it. This wasn't the only thing. Things continue to progress. Basically, my wife started to replace things in the house with substitutes. First, the pork in the house was swapped out for jackfruit, eggs were swapped out for substitutes like Just Egg, shirts were only bought from clean brands like plant-based clothing, and deodorants were swapped out for deodorant pills like Go Scentless. You get the idea. To say this was creating a rift would be an understatement, and eventually, I brought up to our wife that again, while we 100% support her in her decisions around these things, I didn't think it should change things for the boys and me, unless of course, they wanted it. Wife argued that her values have changed, and that being around some of this stuff was really hard for her, and wanted us to support her. For the next 2 to 3 months, the house was a place of pretty high tension. It had gotten so bad that the boys have friends bringing them meat from their houses since it was now completely gone from ours. Anyway, about a week ago my wife went away on a few-day-long business trip, meaning I was watching the boys Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Basically, and I'm a bit ashamed to type this out, but the boys and I mostly ate meat, basically every chance we got. This was all fine and dandy, the boys and I had a great time, until my wife returned home, and it somehow slipped out what we had done. I have never seen her so disappointed in us. After putting the boys to bed we argued for hours about how I was setting a poor example for the boys, that I should respect the decisions made by my wife, even if they're tough and inconvenient. It's hard to argue back, because I can see her side, but it boils down simply to just I don't want to be vegetarian vegan and neither do the boys. Top comments. Commenter 1. NTA, she said she got rid of it because she couldn't be around it. Well, she wasn't around it. Also, you guys did not convert to her religion, so she can't expect that you follow it. Not really sure what the problem is when she wasn't home. Commenter 2. OP should have simply refused to take the diet so they wouldn't feel guilty for cheating whilst they're not. Update. I want to thank everyone again for your help. My wife and I sat down and read through most of the top ones, and it helped her see some of the stuff we were dealing with. 12 months ago, my wife converted to a new religion, which included her giving up eating meat. Basically, along with not eating meat, my wife now no longer wanted to be around it. This wasn't the only thing. Things continue to progress. Basically, my wife started to replace things in the house with substitutes. First, the pork in the house was swapped out for jackfruit, eggs were swapped out for substitutes like Just Egg, shirts were only bought from clean brands like plant-based clothing, and deodorants were swapped out for those Go scentless deodorant pills, etc. etc. Basically, it had gotten so bad that the boys would have their friends sneak them meat at school. It eventually boiled over to a crazy situation once me and the boys had some meat dinners while my wife was out of town. After our post went crazy, me and the wife basically sat down and tried to talk everything out, using the comments as a guide. Some were pretty mean, though. After hours and hours of debating and about a week of going back and forth, the final place we came to is somewhat hard to put it into written words, but basically, the boys should be able to live how they want, as they didn't make a decision to be part of this family, but I've chosen to be part of this family, and be with my wife, and if I can't meet my wife and her values, I should decide if I actually want to continue to be a part of this family. So basically the boys are off the hook until they get a bit older and are able to make decisions at this level on their own, but in order to continue being with my wife, I need to sacrifice and meet her where her values are. I know Reddit doesn't want to hear this, but I'm willing to make a sacrifice like this to 1. Keep my family together. 2. Allow the boys to have their freedom. When I wrote the original post, all I cared about was my boys' ability to choose their own lifestyle, whether that be the one we have or some crazy lifestyle that they want. And I think I've gotten us to that place now. I don't use Reddit much, but I'll check back within a month or two and let everyone know how we're doing. But I think we've finally found a path forward. Aita for sacrificing at this level to keep my family together. Top comments. Commenter 1. NTA for making the sacrifice. But this is the slope that you're starting on. She's going to need you to keep meeting her values. I've chosen to be part of this family, and be with my wife, and if I can't meet my wife and her values, I should decide if I actually want to continue to be a part of this family. This argument is faulty. You didn't choose to part of this family. You made this family with her on terms you both agreed on. She unilaterally changed some of the terms and expects you to still abide by your original terms. That's bullshit. You need to renegotiate if anything. As for you choosing to be part of the family, so did she. If her values aren't the same as yours, then she's the one choosing to not be in this relationship. Dude, you just let her gaslight you into thinking you're responsible for failing the relationship. YTA for sucking everything down. Commenter 2. Also, I read this as basically saying that the boys will be required to decide if they want to continue to be a part of the family, too, when they get a bit older. All Dad has done here, at best, is defer the situation for his sons for a few years. Stories number 22. Aita for refusing to take in my disabled brother. Jesus. I don't know where to begin. Recently started listening to these Aita videos while working out, and only posted once before. I think this situation is crazier than the last. So, I have an estranged, tense relationship with my mom and a lot of her side of the family. When I was 21, I became a single father to my daughter, Cece. I was working overnights in a warehouse, had to move back in with my mom and younger golden brother, I'll just call him GB going forward, as Cece's egg donor just decided she'd rather live the socialite life than be a mother. My mom was helpful with Cece when it was convenient for her. So if she had a rough day at work, she was more concerned with having a drink and unwinding than helping with her granddaughter. GB though. I could write a book about how incompetent and useless he was. One day that is burned into my memory, Cece was only about 8 months old at the time. On my way home from work one morning, I got stuck in traffic on the way back. Tried calling home and let them know what was going on and Cece likely needed to be fed. I get home almost 2 hours after clocking out, I hear Cece crying in our room and GB is sitting on the couch. He says something that almost sets me off like, about damn time. She's been crying, explain there was an accident blocking traffic I got caught in, ask him why she's crying. You know, is all I get in response. Ask him for how long as I'm heading into my room. According to him, she had been crying for almost an hour, soiled diaper and hungry. GB couldn't be bothered to even check on her. After a couple years of these two acting like this, especially GB, I'm on the phone with my dad and stepmom, he offered me help with raising her, getting my life on track, etc. Cliff notes of what happened next. Cece's egg donor gets parental rights terminated, essentially leaving her without a legal mother. Mom starts giving me shit about running away from family responsibilities. GB is talking about what he's going to do to my room once we're gone. I'm packing everything up and make a 1,100-mile road trip several states away with a toddler with my phone turned off because my mom was blowing it up demanding that I turn around and bring her only grandchild back to her. Since then, did meet a woman that is phenomenal with Cece. Got married. She adopted Cece officially a couple years ago right after Mother's Day. We also have an 8-year-old son. We have made trips back to my hometown several times over the years. Usually for holidays or stopping by on our way to Orlando. Hometown is in Florida, BTW, and over the years GB has not shown the slightest interest in growing up. Or not being absolutely disgusting. I'm pretty sure there are stories about him on the Neckbeard subreddit. Details about GB, he's 36 years old now, still lives at home with mom. He's been on disability for a while, not entirely sure how long, for seizures. He had them as a teenager, then stopped for a while, came back as an adult and his fast food job couldn't keep him around, can't have someone having a seizure around hot oil and sharp knives, so he and my mom went through the process of getting him on some sort of disability. So he does nothing but sleep and play video games all day. He thinks he's the cool uncle, for some reason, legit has those words on his FB. We never stay with them when we're in town and Cece has been very vocal over the last 6 years that he makes her feel very uncomfortable. When she was 12, he offered to let her smoke or drink with him. She's smart enough to say no, since to him, kids your age are gonna do it anyway, might as well do it with an adult you trust, or talk about his relationships. Last one was no lie, 17 years ago, in uncomfortable detail. With his child niece. He even has to be reminded to fucking bathe. Both Cece and my son, 8 years old, have called him out for smelling like straight up BO and cat pee. Which according to my mom is rude and uncalled for. And I need to make this part clear, he has never been diagnosed as autistic, developmentally challenged, or neurodivergent in any way. He's just been raised to be entitled and lazy, but that's everything up to this. We recently got back from an Orlando trip, passed through my hometown without stopping. Got that guilt-laden phone call from my mom about how they missed us etc. whatever and she drops this thing. She updated her will to leave everything split between me and GB and she wants me to take him and take care of him if anything happens to her. I couldn't help but laugh and tell her, exact words, not a snowflake's chance in hell is he ever living with us. She knows he makes Cece uncomfortable, but her logic is since she's going up to college soon, and will be out and on her own soon, that means we'll have the space for him and Cece won't have to worry about him. She goes on to explain that he can't take care of himself because of his seizures. He can't cook for himself, he can't clean up after himself, and he can't remember to bathe unless he's reminded. When she started going on about how Cece shouldn't feel uncomfortable around him because he openly talked about his sex life to his niece when she was 12 because he doesn't know better. Last thing I said to her was, you are describing someone that needs assisted living, not a room in a house with people unqualified to provide the assistance he clearly needs. And I'm not making my kids spend time around anyone that makes them feel uncomfortable, family or not. So honestly, I don't even really care if I'm the asshole or not. This whole thing just started pissing me off. Stories number 23. My BF, 29M, is going to propose but I, 29F, do not feel loved anymore and am questioning the relationship. My BF and I have been together for a very long time. We dated from the time we're 16 to 22. We then broke up for a while but got back together when we were 25. We are both 29 now. We live together and I know he's going to ask me to marry him soon so I want to get my feelings in order before anything happens. I love him, I really do but I feel sorta unloved. I know once couples become comfortable with each other and live together, the spark, or whatever dies but I don't like feeling like this. I still make an effort, I ask him how his day went, I'm affectionate, I put out, so to speak. A thing that really bothers me is when I say something, a lot of the time, he ignores me. When I bring it up, he says that he didn't hear me or that he was busy. For example, I'll say, did you see there's going to be a strike tomorrow, and I won't get a reply. I'll wait 10 seconds, still no reply. Then I'll ask, hello. "Did you hear what I said?" and he'll go, or grunt in response. He does this often, just abrupt responses after ignoring me and me having to repeat myself. I'd understand if he did this if I was talking his ear off, but I'm not even a talkative person. Yet when he talks about anything, I pay attention, respond properly, validate his opinions and reassure him when he needs me to. Affection-wise, I always give him hugs and kisses. He hardly ever does this anymore without me asking. I compliment him and tell him that he looks handsome. He hasn't complimented me in any shape or form in probably over a year now that I think about it. I still look the same looks-wise, I haven't gained weight or anything, not that that's a reason to stop loving someone, but you know how some people are, so I don't know what changed. Have things just become stale? Is this what inevitably happens? This whole situation has been troubling me for a while, but I'm not sure what to do. Our anniversary is in 2 months' time and his sister accidentally let it slip that he's going to propose. If it weren't for that, I'd think that we've been together for too long and he's now sick of me. I tried talking to a few of my friends who are already married and all I got were varied versions of, "That's how men are." He wasn't like this before. He would pay attention to me, talk to me, and overall I just felt more liked, you know. Now it just kind of feels one-sided. The one time I attempted to kind of bring it up, I opened with, "Do you still like me?" Because sometimes it doesn't really feel like it, and he replied with, "If I didn't like you, why would I be here?" I could tell it was going to end up in an argument, so I just let it go after that. How do I handle this situation? I want to bring it up with him, but I don't know how to do it. I guess I'm not really good at articulating how I feel. Or should I not say anything because this is just the way relationships go? Please advise me because I'm a little lost. TLDR, my BF and I have dated for over 10 years altogether. He is going to propose soon, but I'm not completely happy as I feel unloved. He's somewhat abrupt and not affectionate anymore, and it's making me question whether things aren't ideal or whether it's a normal aging relationship. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You can't have an honest conversation about this without it turning into an argument. Am I correct in guessing that this is a pattern, and whenever he doesn't want to discuss something difficult, you know it'll turn into an argument, so you just drop it? If so, my partner just proposed to me less than a week ago, and I can promise you that your friends are just in unfulfilling relationships. I call my finance a literal angel every chance I get, because he is. Your dude feels comfortable and doesn't feel the need to put in any effort anymore. Could be because he's just going through the motions and he isn't really that into the relationship anymore. Could be because he doesn't feel like once you get to a certain point in a relationship, effort flies out the window. Neither scenario is good nor how things should be. I think it's worth trying to speak with him again about it, but definitely don't commit to marrying this dude before you have an honest conversation. Reply. Whenever I try to talk about feelings or things we need to work on in our relationship, no matter how carefully I choose my words, he will take it as an attack and turn it into an argument or just shut down completely and refuse to talk. Congratulations on your proposal. I think my situation definitely is a no more effort sort of thing. I know I have to talk to him now. I guess I'm just scared and nervous about the outcome. Commenter 2. My ex, who I did become engaged to, was like this. Just completely uninterested in me, unaffectionate and not plugged into what was happening in my life. Some men are like this, but not you, and that's fine. My current partner, it's like chalk and cheese. I got all the things I was told I was asking too much for before. We will snuggle and cuddle all night, hold hands while watching TV, cook together and chat and laugh and be silly. Reply. Yes. That's exactly my situation. But he wasn't like this before. He was sweet and affectionate and interested before. I don't know how I got to this point. Maybe it happened so gradually that I didn't notice until it was completely changed. I'm so happy you found an amazing partner like that. Update. I told him that I feel a bit disconnected and I'd like it if he paid more attention to me and talked to me a little more. He just said, okay, but I could tell that he wasn't interested. The next day, there was no change and I was a bit annoyed, so I spoke to him again. I said that I'm starting to feel lonely in the relationship and I feel like he ignores me and isn't affectionate as he used to be before. But all he said was that he didn't want to talk about it. I said that it was important and that I might want to end things if we can't talk about this. Only then did he actually pay attention. He said that he ignores me because he's tired. I understand that work is tiring, but he practically ignores me all the time, and as far as the affection and attention, he said, I don't know. Things just change, you know. I explained that I understood all of that, but I needed more, that maybe it was unreasonable for me to want that and maybe the type of relationship I want doesn't exist, but I would not be happy in this relationship if things stayed this way. He then said, he'd try more. That he'd hug me every morning before work, try to respond more when I spoke and give me a compliment now and then. I didn't like how it felt like a list of chores he had to do, but at least he was willing to try, so I agreed. I also asked if there was anything I could work on for him, but he said there was nothing he could think of. By the end of the first week he already seemed annoyed with the hugging. He'd let out a big sigh and it seemed like he was doing it begrudgingly. This felt awful for me, like I'm forcing this man to give me a crumb of affection. But at least he was doing it, I guessed. My breaking point happened last weekend when we were getting ready to go to a party. It was his friend's party and it was a fancy affair, so I had to get really dressed up. His niece and her BF were also going but came to our place because she needed help with her hair. She has gorgeous but length hair and wanted to curl it. As soon as her BF saw her after getting ready, he said, "Wow. You look so beautiful. You look like a mermaid," and hugged her. No prompting, no asking, he just did it. That's when my BF called me aside and said, "I guess I have to compliment you now, right?" That was it for me. I said that I was feeling sick and needed to go to the bathroom. We were all supposed to leave together, but I stalled for a few minutes and told them I was sorry and they should leave, and if when I felt better, we'd meet them there. As soon as they left, I spoke to him. I said that I was sorry I wasted his time and I was so sorry that I didn't notice all of this sooner. I said that I appreciate his effort, and even though he was doing what I asked, it was not enough for me. I don't want to feel like a chore for someone. I understand that the honeymoon period puppy love thing doesn't last forever, but I want someone to just like me, To like me naturally and instinctively, as a person. After explaining that, I told him that I was sorry again and that I was ending things. He started freaking out and told me to think about it some more, but I was sure of my choice. He then said that he understands and he's sorry and asked if I would still go with him to the party as our last night out, and also because he was going to be embarrassed to go alone. I felt bad cause I didn't mean to do this on this day and I didn't want to leave him hanging, so I agreed. I really didn't want to, but I went and we managed to keep up appearances. Then in the middle of dinner, he proposed. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do and felt trapped. I didn't want to embarrass him or myself, so I said yes. Everybody was congratulating us and I was in hell. It all felt so awful and it was difficult to not start crying out of frustration. In addition to us technically being broken up, he knows I hate being the center of attention in public like that. When we got home, I asked how he could do such a thing. How could he put me in such a terrible position? He said, "I thought maybe proposing would change your mind." I said that it didn't and I just said yes because it would have been awkward if I hadn't. I gave him the ring back, packed some of my stuff and left. He was freaking out asking me what he was going to tell everyone, but I told him to say whatever he wants. That I changed my mind. I'm flaky. Whatever. I was emotionally exhausted and didn't care anymore. I feel awful and I wish I could have handled that whole situation better or smarter, but I panicked and now we're here. Everyone is probably going to think I'm a jerk, but I honestly didn't know what to do. Anyway, things are over now and I'm staying with my sister until I gather my bearings. He's been texting me, trying to convince me to reconsider. I honestly feel a little lost because he's the only BF I've ever had and he was such a big part of my life, but I know I made the right choice. TLDR, BF half-heartedly tried to change and it did not work. I broke up with him. He tried to salvage the relationship by proposing prematurely, but I still went through with the breakup. Final comments. Commenter 1. My jaw dropped and my hand clapped over my mouth when I read that he proposed. The fucking audacity. He did it to manipulate you. What am I going to tell them? Like, dude, you made this mess. Fuck around and find out. I'm so glad you didn't actually follow through with staying with him after saying yes. I'm so proud of you for leaving. Reply. I didn't want to say yes, but there were so many people there. It was a very big party in a fancy hall and everyone was looking at me expectantly. To be honest, I didn't even speak when he proposed. I froze for what seemed like ages, then eventually just nodded. Thank you. Commenter 2. Wow, huge bullet dodged. I can't believe that he pulled that stunt. I initially thought that you would feign sickness and urge the other 3 to go without you. Oh well, if there are any people that matter to you within the friend group, tell them what happened. I for one think you did the right thing by moving out. Just bring someone with you when you get your things, quicker and safer. See if you can do it when you know that he won't be there. Reply. I initially wanted to tell the 3 of them to go without me, but he would have got mad at me and it would have been a fight, so I ended up doing this instead. I'm actually stalling getting my stuff. I'm dreading it. Commenter 3. Send someone else to get your stuff. Would your sister do it? Or at least accompany you? And shut down any and all conversation between the 2 of you. I was in a similar situation to you when I had a breakup, but I refused to be home when my BF picked up his stuff. And he took his time picking his things up, hoping to see me again. Eventually, I made a like and said pick it up by X date or it's trashed. Reply. My sister wanted to go the very next day and fetch my stuff. But it was a Sunday and I knew he'd be home the whole day, so I avoided it. My sister is the opposite of me, very confrontational you see, so I don't really want to go with her lol. She suggested that her husband accompany me this weekend, so I guess I'll do that. Stories number 24. Aita for suggesting to my friend next time she can bring her own food. I wondering if I was TA here. So I love cooking and love to host. Bearing in mind all of us including me are Muslim and we all eat halal meat. One of my friends became vegan last year. When we go out for meals we try to accommodate her by going to places that facilitate vegan food. That limits most of our choices as most places that serve halal food don't cater very well to vegan food. So we moved to a new place and I decided to invite friends over for dinner. I called my vegan friend beforehand and asked her what she would like me to make and what brand she wanted me to use. I assured her I would cook everything separately for her so there would be no cross-contamination. Food was served and she liked it. One of my friends brought for dessert homemade cheesecake that her mum made. I had already brought a vegan dessert for my friend so I assumed no problem. Well, she had a meltdown and screamed at the person who brought the cheesecake. I asked her to calm down and not raise her voice in my house. She took offense and left and said I didn't appreciate her. Mind you, for a whole year we catered to her choice of food and places to eat out. Later on we decided as a group we couldn't let her selfish antics affect us. In a group chat we discussed going out in 2 weeks to this new halal buffet opening in town and we checked it did have vegan products. Well, said friend straight away objected, so I told her when we next go out you can bring your own food and we can enjoy eating out. Aita. Update to Aita for suggesting to my friend to bring her own food next time. Quick recap. I hosted dinner at my home and my friend who is vegan had a meltdown regarding a non-vegan cheesecake my friend's mother made and she brought for us despite us for over a year accommodating my vegan friend's diet. So after what happened I created a new WhatsApp group with all my friend apart from the vegan one to discuss what happened and what to do going forward. We all agreed that we had enabled her behavior by being too accommodating and she was rude. Someone suggested I have a chat with her one-to-one and see if there were issues going on with her as her outburst is unlike her, she can be self-centered but never been that rude before. I agreed to the suggestion but told the group I will keep the chats as backup that we all are on same page in case she accuses me of bullying her and she would know it is just not me. I texted her and asked her to meet me at my place. The reason for that is so that number 1 she doesn't have a meltdown in public and number 2 if she crosses the line I was going to ask her to leave my home. My husband was on board with this and he said he would wait outside in the car so she doesn't feel uncomfortable. She wears a headscarf and when we get together we usually are girls only so those of us who wears headscarf can take it off. She agreed to come. We met and after greeting I asked her up front if there was issues. She was taken back and asked why. I informed her that what happened last time was unlike her and if she is having a hard time. She denied it in beginning but then burst into tears. That day she had an argument with her fiancé in regards to her future MIL. She is the only vegan in the family and wanted the wedding menu to be all vegan. In our culture, Middle Eastern, the groom pays for the wedding and her MIL said while some of the menu can cater to some vegan dishes there will be non-vegan as well for others. And her MIL said that is not up for discussion as they are paying for the wedding. Her fiancé while supports her agrees with his mum as he stated to her she can eat what he wants but he is non-vegan and will not adhere to her diet at home or when eating out. I asked what happened since, she said relationships is shaky and she gave him an ultimatum, either her and her views or his mother. He bluntly told her while he loves her he wants a partner that would accept both him and his family. He said if his mother disrespects her or anyone else in his family he would berate him and defend her but in return she has to also give same amount of respect back to him and his family. I asked her did her MIL ban vegan food from the menu completely. She said no, she said they will be both. I asked her when she visits her fiancé family do they provide vegan food for her. She said yes they do. I told her she was selfish and only thought of herself. I said to her that if they had not accommodated her at all I would tell her to leave the relationship. I told her we had tried to be respectful of her choices for over a year but we won't be doing that any longer. That she is entitled and the world doesn't revolve around her. I showed her the group chat where we all agreed if she continues to be disrespectful that she won't be invited out any longer with us. I told her that she needs to be grateful her fiancé was being patient with her, if my husband had been rude to my mother like that I would have broken of the relationship. She raised her voice at me and slapped me all of a sudden. I told her to get out of my house before I call the police for assault. She said who would believe you, then I told her I had recorded our whole conversation, in case she lied later on. She left and I messaged the friend group, explained what happened and told them I am done with her and if they want to hang around with her I am fine with it, just to tell me as I don't want to see her. They were all shocked and I am now grieving the loss of a friend who I've known since I was 11 years old. Update 2 to Aita to suggesting to my friend to bring her own food next time. Hi all. I am terrible at linking posts, so please look at my profile if you want original posts. It's been a while since I last posted about my friend who is vegan. We ended it with her slapping me. What I didn't mention in previous post was I was heavily pregnant. Needless to say, my husband was furious and wanted to press charges, especially since I had it all recorded. He said, "What if you or baby were harmed?" Also, we had a 4-year-old who was asleep in his bedroom when ex-friend came. Anyway, I convinced him to call her fiancé to discuss. I honestly was shocked because that wasn't what she was like. Her fiancé came. I asked to listen without interruption and showed him the video. He was shocked and kept apologizing. He said he will deal with it and asked us not to contact the police. 3 weeks later my husband came and updated me. The fiancé had basically spoke with her about what happened. She started hysterically crying and threatening to hurt herself. He called 999 and they sent an ambulance. In A&E they decided to keep her till they see her mental health and stability. The fiancé kept by her side alongside her family. There is no definite diagnosis, but it's more likely bipolar disorder. Unfortunately, it runs in her mother's side of the family, but being Middle Eastern never been acknowledged, and back in Middle East those who had it were kept at home to keep the reputation intact. Unfortunately, the fiancé broke up with her. He said he doesn't have the understanding to cope even if she stabilizes on medication, and his family basically gave him an ultimatum: if he chooses to stay with her, not to expect family to support them. While he had a good job, it doesn't cover the wedding costs which his family 100% were paying for. I know many of you told me to ignore her and not a friend she was. However, I am glad she got a diagnosis, as that wasn't like her. In retrospective, she was always had a bit of drama, could go from sad to happy easily. Being her friend did put blinkers on, she was just like that. I still am keeping arm's distance, but not opposed to having a relationship in the future. Now my focus is on my own family, and I hope one day she meets someone who accepts her for who she is, including her BPD. Stories number 25. AIO for questioning ending my friendship with MOH for missing my wedding. My best friend was my MOH. She travels for pleasure consistently and is always taking time off work to do so. She decided to book a trip out of the country knowing it was the week of my wedding. Her dog has been in poor health for the last couple years, and she got a call from the dog sitter on vacation that he may need emergency surgery. She immediately called me and said she wouldn't be at my wedding as he may not survive surgery. She decided, instead of taking him in and telling work she had an emergency the couple days she had in advance before my wedding when she got back, that it was better to do it on Saturday, the day of the event. Her dog never ended up needing surgery and is going to be okay. I can't help but be upset. She's always so willing to take work off for her own pleasure but not for my sake, and this didn't turn out to be anything life-threatening for her doggo. She planned to miss rehearsal dinner to begin with as she wouldn't be there till late BC of work. When I expressed how hurt I was, she compared her dog to my son and said I'd do the same thing. Honestly, no. I would not. I'm really questioning this friendship moving forward. Forgive and forget or cut her off. Stories number 26. You're not allowed to help other departments. Cool, don't ask me when they fall behind then. I, 18F, work in a small warehouse. We all have assigned areas, but when things are slow, we usually help each other out, especially when shipments pile up or someone calls out. I usually jump in to help the shipping team, since I'm fast with labels and scanning. It's not my official job, but they appreciate it and it keeps things moving. Then our new supervisor showed up. First week on the job, he says, "I don't want anyone crossing departments. You stay in your assigned zone." Got it? Cool. The next day, shipping gets slammed, someone called out, printer jams, labels everywhere. I just stood in my section, fully caught up, doing absolutely nothing. Supervisor comes over. "Why aren't you helping them?" Me, "I'm not allowed to cross departments, remember?" He just blinked, sighed, and walked away. Next shift, he told me to use my judgment if I see another team struggling. Got it, boss. Stories number 27. They have been in the bathroom for almost 2 hours. Considering buying a bucket to pee in. I live with 8 roommates, 5 of us share a bathroom. One of them has been in the bathroom for almost 2 hours. First he was in the shower for almost an hour. Then even when his shower was done he was still in the bathroom. I can hear him playing music on his phone in there too. First the shower was running for an hour and then the rest of the time he was in there the water was off and the music was playing on his phone. I have to use the bathroom really bad. I am tempted to buy a bucket so I can pee in it. 'Cause this is ridiculous. I am a woman, but if I have to pee in a bucket I will. This isn't the first time he has done this either, but it's the longest time. The first time it was him and his girlfriend immediately taking a shower one after the other. And it was 1 hour instead of 2. But now I think it's just him. Stories number 28. My cousin demanded I change my wedding date because it clashed with her dog's birthday party. When my husband and I were planning our wedding, we picked a fall weekend that worked best for our schedules and the venue's availability. We sent out save the dates about 6 months in advance, plenty of notice, I thought. A week after we sent them out, my cousin, let's call her Kelsey, called me in full drama mode. She said, "Wait. October 14th? You didn't really pick that date, did you?" I thought maybe I missed a family birthday or something, so I asked what was wrong. Her response: "That's Bentley's birthday weekend." I asked, "Who's Bentley?" Her actual answer: "My dog." I laughed, thinking she was joking. But she wasn't. She told me she had already booked a local dog park for a huge bark day bash and invited a bunch of people from her neighborhood and local dog group. She insisted it would be a huge inconvenience for her if I didn't change the wedding date to the following weekend. I told her no. We had already signed contracts, sent invitations, and honestly, I couldn't believe I was even having this conversation. Later that week, she went on a social media rant, saying, "Some people prioritize themselves over family traditions, and real friends don't plan weddings on meaningful dates." A few mutual friends messaged me, confused about what she was even talking about. In the end, Kelsey didn't show up to the wedding. Neither did Bentley, shockingly. Stories number 29. Coworker spent 2 years upset I worked remote and he didn't, and got fired after getting drunk in front of a client. So all of this started a couple of years ago up until recently, but I didn't leave this job until a couple of months ago and didn't want to take the chance of my old workplace finding this and me getting in trouble. Also, I know a lot of AI slop has been on here lately, but this isn't that. I wrote this on my phone, here's a spelling mistake for proof lol. Back when the pandemic started we went remote like many offices. About a year into it my company decided to close the office my department had been in and let everyone stay remote. I asked and was given the opportunity by upper management to move further away, which was great as I found a better house in a lower cost of living area, and I'm still here. Then in 23 they decided to merge our department into the main corporate building, and anyone within 30 miles had to come back to the office. Which was kind of dumb since our department could do everything remotely, but them's the rules. I was over 70 miles away so I was fine. I still came in when needed, but that was only 2 to 3 times a year. That same year we got a new hire who reported directly to me and hated that I was remote and he had to come in. I found out while training him he lived a literal block away from the building, but still didn't want to come in. But this wasn't enough, he started demanding I come in every day to train him. I told him no, not happening. I was given direct permission by my boss, her boss, and her boss's boss to move. I wasn't about to do a 140-mile-a-day commute when we could do everything over Teams. He scheduled a meeting with my boss in an effort to go over my head. She called me and asked what was going on. I filled her in and she was amused. She was also remote and had been the entire 10 years she had been there as her husband was military and they moved every few years due to him changing duty stations. The company of course knew this, and gave her full permission to be remote as she was very skilled in our niche field. This guy did not know this though as he had scheduled an in-person meeting with her, which was impossible as we were on the East Coast and she was in California at the time. This didn't go over well with him, so he walked right into our department head's office and complained, which was a huge no-no. Our department head was legitimately constantly busy, and worked 50-plus hour weeks constantly. He was told to pound sand. After this, the new guy was quiet for a bit. I could tell he was still upset but he had calmed down so I figured he had finally accepted the situation. Then earlier this year we went on a week-long work trip together. Seemed to go well, clients were happy. But when I got back one of our clients who was present at the work trip called me to give me a heads up he was sending a complaint about my coworker. Probably shouldn't have, but we had a great working relationship. Apparently they had ended up at the same restaurant the last night before we left, and my coworker had gotten very drunk and started talking massive amounts of shit about me, my boss, our department head, everyone. Even ended up talking shit about that client to his face because he didn't realize the person he was talking to was the same person he complained about to me for being too fucking stupid to make the money he was making, which he also told him. Apparently he didn't realize this was the same client because he never bothered to learn this guy's name after an entire week, and since that was the first time he had ever seen his face wouldn't have had a reason to put 2 and 2 together. I told him go right ahead, I'm sorry that happened but corporate should know. I never got in trouble as the client made sure to let them know I wasn't involved, it happened outside of work, and he was thinking of taking his business elsewhere when the contract was up at the end of the year if he was going to have to deal with my coworker again. Coworker was promptly fired, and I ended up finding another job this year after getting fed up with my manager's sexist remarks but that's another story. Stories number 30. Kids dropped off on our porch. Didn't think I'd be writing another update, but this situation just keeps escalating. A couple of days after my cousin came to pick up the kids, after being dragged off the cruise ship, FACS got back in touch and asked a few follow-up questions. During the conversation, they mentioned they had contacted the kid's biological father and informed him of what had happened. I didn't even know he was still around. From what I remembered, he'd moved out to regional NSW years ago, I think somewhere near Wagga. Apparently, he's been paying child support and trying to stay in touch, but my cousin made it almost impossible. Would ignore his calls, block him, cancel visits, that sort of thing. Well, when he found out what she did, leaving the kids to catch a bus alone in winter and dumping them on our doorstep, he was furious. Drove straight to Sydney that same night. He came to our house the next morning. Genuinely nice guy, clearly shaken but calm. He said he just wanted to hear everything from someone who was there. We sat down and talked for a while. He asked how the kids were, if they said anything, and what exactly happened. You could tell he really cared. Then he told me straight up, he's going to apply for full custody. He said he's been documenting everything for years, the cancelled visits, the excuses, the strange behavior when the kids did come back to him, and this was the final straw. Leaving them like that without even a message. He said he wouldn't let them grow up thinking that was normal. I told him I fully supported him. Those kids deserve stability. He thanked us for not turning them away and for taking care of them when no one else did. Then he left to speak with a solicitor. Now, onto something I didn't expect and honestly still can't believe. Our car was vandalized last night. All 4 tires slashed. Nothing else touched, just the tires. We noticed it this morning when my girlfriend went to head out. No note, no witnesses. Unfortunately, we don't have cameras installed, but we've asked neighbors if they have any footage from overnight. Can't say for sure who did it, but given the timing, I've got a few guesses. Especially since a family member called us yesterday blaming us for turning the family against my cousin. No proof yet, but we've reported it to the police just in case. Honestly, we're exhausted. We didn't ask for any of this, just tried to do the right thing when 4 kids showed up freezing on our doorstep. The entire family is believing her version of the story. I'm thinking of compiling